we have Alex and Tachikawa already, so I decided I might throw in something else that might be more important and also maybe more relevant to what we are doing right now under the COVID.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I think so.
So yeah, we are starting now. Okay.
Kanta is joining or what? Sumaya?
Yes.
पहले वो formal start कर लो ना. Then you share this.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
I will start sharing my screen. I don't know if that's okay.
We share after some time. We say let me start first.
Okay.
Then you can.
I stop my share. Okay.
Okay.
You look really nice, Sumaya.
Yes. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to SR Asia International Dialogue 2020 webinar series. I am Sumaya Rashid, Country Director of SR Asia Bangladesh, and I am really delighted to moderate today's session. Though I think, as you know, that we are working from home, so during my speech, you may hear many background noise. So I apologize for this. However, so this is led to know that as part of SR Asia core area of works, promoting CSR and sustainability is one of the main activity of SR Asia, which we started since 2011 in different countries, especially in Asian countries. The 2020 webinar series has been started from 8th September this month, and today we are prominent subject experts from Singapore, Japan, Thailand, India, and Malaysia, who spend their entire career on developing and practicing innovative tools, techniques, process design, and educating industries and entrepreneurs, as well as consumers, on responsible business and consumption. So what actually we will learn from the expert today? Now we are all in a time of struggling, surviving, and you know that adapting to combat a sudden disaster, which took place since February end 2020, if I'm not wrong, which is called COVID-19. So the social and economic challenges posed by COVID-19 have emphasized the true value of identifying a business strength and weakness, as well as recognizing and mitigating material risk, if we think in this way. So today the expert will talk on what are the key to resilience in new normal. These days, you know that companies are eager to cite progress when it comes to their ESG, that means environmental, social, and governance goals. So even investors are getting on board, taking a closer look at organizations' ESG performance before they make decisions. So now before starting the main session with the experts, I am requesting Mr. Virendra Raturi. He is the International Director of Social Responsibility Asia, SR Asia, to address welcome remark. Virendra, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you, Sumaya, for those remarks. I'm welcoming Dr. Vichai, Dr. Dhiman, Dr. Danta to our panel, the esteemed experts on various subjects. And I also welcome our participant from global community to this SRACI event. As you all know, that we are still in the time of pandemic. And one of the boon which the technology has provided us is to connect, share, and propagate positivity among all. With that particular aspect, SRACI has called upon this event from across the Asia and overseas. And we have invited experts who are working with communities, with industries, who are professionals, academia, who can contribute, who can share what is happening in the world, how we move forward. That is the primary theme, that is the primary objective of this seminar. And with that, you would get to know that, how environmental and social governance is important. One very important aspect which we understand today, and I think by virtue of this conference, you will also get to know that how the environment is being safeguarded even by this particular event. If you look at this scenario, the right scenario right now, you can see in our panel that we have people from Bangladesh, from Japan, from Jakarta, from Malaysia, and it seems that we are at one platform physically, and we can contribute whatever we could contribute otherwise, in person, being together physically. Now, though I would never think that shall be happening always, that we get isolated with the technologies and only come out and come up with such a platform. But one very important aspect which we understand, that this pandemic has forced us to, and which is a positive aspect, is the shaving environment. And that we can see that without crossing boundaries, without taking any aeroplane, without taking any taxi, without moving outside, we are doing the work in a same way, the way we could do otherwise, traveling and crossing geographical boundaries, and using all those fuels, that killing all our time in the traffic. So this is one great learning that we are coming up with here. And second aspect is that the new generation has now seen that there could be clean sky, the blue sky, there could be clean air. They have felt it for good reason or bad reason, but I would say for good reason. And they have also seen the stars. Stars were, when they start, twinkle, twinkle, little star, the poem which we could, which we used to hear. The children's, the young generation have been able to realize and see that truthfully. With that perspective, we know that the world will bounce back. We know that the human will come back with the same race, with the same agility, with the same energy, and will come up with the development work. The development work which we are talking about in a new dimension as a sustainable development, we will, and all across the globe will be working, will come forward, will resilient. People will be resilient and will bounce back to the life. But in the same context, would we forget what we got as a result of such a fear, such a fear which continue to be even today? Will people, not only professional, not only doctor, not only academia, not only industrialist, but will everyone would recall such a good environment which is necessary and which is a necessity for human to survive, not only human, but entire biodiversity, entire ecosystem to be, nice for everybody to survive. In that context, we, SR Asia has felt, and we have eminent speakers from different countries, different professions, who have immense knowledge and immense respect globally, working with societies, industries in their domains, will be sharing what is good for us, what lies, what lies ahead for us, what we should be doing, what we must do, what we should be thinking, and how the environment and society has to govern together. With that, I now leave this up to our experts, our invited guests, to share their views, their insight, their perspective, their practical guidelines for all of us to see and then follow for the best to all of us, in the best interest of all of us. With this, I declare this program open, and I welcome all the speakers to the SR Asia Web Series 2020 and the participants and the all audiences who are here on this our Zoom platform and who are otherwise available and seeing our program on our various social media live feeds. So again, I welcome you all, and back to Shumaya. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Virendra. Thank you very much for your welcome speech. So, well, let me introduce the speaker, Dr. Vishay Chatinwat. I know him since 2017 in a training program on material flow cost accounting in Bangladesh, which is organized by National Productivity Organization under Ministry of Industries. So it is very pleasure to meet you, Vishay, during that time. And yes, I'm very happy that this relation continues as long as till now. So Dr. Vishay is an associate professor, Department of Industrial Engineering, Chiang Mai University in Thailand. He is an international expert on design and implementation of quality management system, SPC, Six Sigma, material flow cost accounting for sustainable and green production, lean and green productivity. He holds PhD and MS in Industrial Engineering and a MS in Statistics from Oregon State University. His research focuses on quality system and productivity management, statistical process control, quality engineering, applied statistics for quality improvement, as well as green design for quality and productivity system. Vishay has been pioneer research and promoter of material flow cost accounting and application in industries. He has been appointed by Asian Productivity Organization, Thailand Productivity Institute as MFCA trainer. He conducted MFCA researches for National Science and Technology Development Agency of Thailand and provides consulting to leading firms in Thailand in applying the MFCA to reduce cost and improve efficiency. He has been regarded as a leader in the MFCA technique in Thailand. So he also was the team lead of a demonstration project on MFCA implemented by SR Asia Bangladesh in leather sector, which is supported by NPO, Ministry of Industries, and funded by Asian Productivity Organization. So the success result of the project is that one factory saved 1 million taka in 1 year. So this was a very good contribution by Vishay in Bangladesh. So Dr. Vishay, thank you for contributing to this international dialogue organized by SR Asia. And I am inviting you to share your insights on market challenges of OT/OP product development in the new normal. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Sumaya, for your kind introduction. So I am very honored, to have chance to share part of the work. So let me share my screen. I already have my presentation ready for you. So you can see my screen, right? So I have my title on the market challenges of the what we call the OTOP product development for the new normal. So I think this is very good information that Miss Director Brenda already mentioned about. We have to get back to the same situation. Now we know that the COVID is really having effect on almost everyone, on every community, but still economic have to be going on. And my concern is, so after we pass through this pandemic, how can we help revive, how can we help construct the local economy? So I have one of the work that I have just finished last year. I think this might give a very good information, because when I do this project is about the time that the pandemic started. So my concept that I would like to share to everyone is, I think it's time for not only everyone in the private sector, but also someone in the educational sector that need to collaborate with the private, so that we can build society, and we can take back what has been stopped for quite a while. So let me share information about what is the OTOP product. So from now on, I will use the word OTOP, O-T-O-P. So what we have here, let me change my slide. I think I need to share another one. Okay, so the OTOP product, so it's just a acronym for one tambon, one product. So it's one tambon is like one village. So in Thailand, we didn't use the word village, we used the word tambon. So one tambon, one product has been initiated since 2001. It's almost 20 years, project that has been launched by previous government, and it has been aimed to help support the local economy by increasing the entrepreneurial skill of the local to generate a higher income. And it has been very successful because there are so many OTOP product has been developed and offered and provided to the community. And this generates lots of revenue for the local community. So once we have the pandemic started, I think it might be a good opportunity to emphasize that there are jobs that can be done at home, and this job can be done at home by the local. But the thing is, how can we upskill, and how can we take the way of online marketing and combine it with this kind of concept? So let me share what is the details of the OTOP product. The OTOP increase the market and business. So up to percent, we know that this OTOP help enabling Thai government to increase the business. But what we really want to know is what types of the product that might need more focus, or what group of product we should focus. We see that there are different kind of OTOP product, and also I'm sure that in Bangladesh you might have this kind of product developed by the community already. So in Thailand we have basically 5 main groups of the product. So these are the 5 groups that I incorporate into my study. So we look at all the groups of the product that we might find an opportunity to develop the new product for the new market as well. So the motivation that I would like to share with everyone here is, under the new normal, I think we need to find a new market. And also that under the new normal, there are opportunity for the new market, because people are more concerned and focused on the health. Therefore, instead of developing product based on a general use, if we can make a product that related to health, that might improve the competitiveness of the program as well. Therefore, I think under the new normal, we see opportunity that there are new market emerge. And the question is how the university community engagement program can be involved. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I think it's not only the private that have to collaborate together, but also the education have to get involved. And one of the things that I am really want to share is there is a university community engagement program, and this program has been exist in many countries. But how can we adopt this program and help improve the local economy product development? So if we can bring this program, and get it collaborated, then we can increase the value. So my motivation is how can we do this? What kind of system that we need? What mechanism and what are the driver for this kind of initiatives? So we need a model that's suitable for implementation for the new market challenges. So these are the basic questions that I think might be good for everyone to start, thinking about how to answer this question before we adopt this concept. So how can we engage in the new market and new product development, and what kind of mechanism or the model that can be used to support? And that we need to sustain, because SRHA is more emphasis on the sustainability. Without support of the education, we need to have the project sustained by themselves. So what kind of activities? So what I would like to say now is I think there is a need for activities like active learning that we should provide to enhance the competence of the local community so that they can sustain the work, they can continue their work without, even though the professors from university is no longer work with them, they can still continue their work at regular basis. So I would like to share next here is, just a minute. I think I am having problem with the slide is not moving. Oh, okay. Now it's moving now. So I would like to say that in order to construct, a programs, we need a concept. So I call this a model, and I call this a model of community learning and engagement for the OTOP product design. So here we need to look it as a system that we need to look from the input and to the output. And then we have to look, what are the enabler of the program. So we devise a model so that we can follow the steps of the implementation. And you can see that from the left hand side, we have to think about what would be the good input in order to develop the product. We need a market needs. We need to look at what kind of need from the new market. Therefore, we conduct what we call a large group survey. And based on the last survey, we use that information to start thinking about what are the products that the new market really needed. Based on what we have from the survey, we can develop the product scope, we develop the product folio, and then we start select which would be the best final product that meet the customer need. So we went through all these steps so that we can satisfy the right need of the new market that we have. So basically, we do a very last survey. We have about 1,500 surveys, and we visit all the participants on site. We look on the elderly new market for the elderly. So what we have here, this is a picture of one of part of the teams of my students who went into a community. We went to different communities, and we also asking them about the preference of the product that they are looking for under the pandemics. And also we ask them whether or not they know that there is an OTOP product. Most of them know the OTOP product programs, but they give us very good information that the existing product program doesn't match the health or the current situation. Therefore, this is a very good starting point for us that we went to a different event we look at the new market. What we define the new market is we look for the elderly groups of the consumer, because these are the one that has the most direct impact on the pandemic. So we look at, the community. We spend times with the community. We use a online survey. Also, we use an on-site survey. We use an activity-based learning engagement. After we get the survey, we went to the community that we want to develop. We talk with them that here, this is the need from the market that we find out, and then this is the concept of the product that might be able to construct. Then is it possible for the community to develop this kind of product? So we look at the engagement. We ask them whether or not they can be engaged. So what we see on the screen here is we went through a decision-making process. We look at the customer needs, and then we try to identify what will be the potential product groups. So we use a tools, analytic tools, what we call ASP, to identify, and then we prioritize. So like I already mentioned at the beginning, we have 5 groups of the OTOP product, but based on the 1,500 site survey, we can prioritize. So which group has more potential, and based on these priority that we receive from the analysis, then we combine it with our concepts. So we develop the way to evaluate and select the product. We call this the BOSS model. So the BOSS model consists of the dimension on business. We look at whether or not the groups contribute to the economics of the local economy. We look at dimension on whether or not the product open up the new opportunity for the economy. And then we look whether or not the product can be sustained, can be produced by themselves in the long term. We call this sustainability. And then we look at the last dimension on the environment, whether or not the product contribute to the environment. So based on this dimension of evaluation, we can assign the value to different product groups, and together with the priority information that we extract from the survey, we can finally select which would be the best product group that we should focus on to start design and improve the product or design the new product for the local. So this is part of the product that we develop. So this is the product related to health. It's about this product is the moisture from the extracted substance that we can. So there are banana peel that are abundant in the local. So we try to upskill. We try to upscale the banana peel by extract, the ingredients of the banana peel, so that we can mix with the lotion and also for the serum. So we come up with a moisture groups of product. And also on the second picture that you can see, we develop a new types of the massager that combine with the herbs and all the ingredients that we can find within the community. So this is the picture of the product that we developed. So, and there are other products too. So this product need to be verified whether or not they fit the needs of the customer. So whatever product that we develop, we go back to the elderly groups and we ask them to check, to try, and give us feedback. So here we also went, to part of the hospital to check, to talk with the specialists to see that whether or not the product that we develop can be used, with the clinic. And we find out that, the product that we develop can help them as a supplement, not a primary for recovering patients, but it can be as a supplement. So we talk, to specialists, and we try to gain understanding and verification that the product can be developed. So based on the prototype creation, then we look at the function, we look at the final determination characteristic of the product. And then we verify whether or not the product can be usable. And then we end up, design the packaging. So because, without good packaging, it might be difficult for the local community to do the market. So here are the picture of the activity-based learning that we provide. After we know what the final product should look like, then we try to enhance their competence. We have many workshops with the communities, try to introduce them how to, what kind of product that we develop. And this is the product. And what are the steps of process? So how we extract, ingredients from banana peel and how we mix with the moisture, how we make the herbs and mix with the massager. So we have different activity-based learning workshop provided to community. So we call this upskill of community. And we also start ecosystem, which means that we need the community to be sustained by themselves. It's not the work of anyone, of any single person in the community. So we ask them to share the knowledge, and they set up a marketing system through a cooperative system. So the community that we work with, they have a cooperative system, which means that they have someone to take care of the marketing, and they collaborate with the community members, and then each community member contributes to different parts of the product development. Some of them help in terms of the product manufacturing. Some of them helps in terms of the material preparation. So we need, I think based on my experience, it's very important that it's not just a new product development that we showcase or we provide to community, but we have to set up the ecosystem such that it can be run by the community themselves. So here are some of the picture of the activity that we conduct to make sure that they will be able to make the product, repeat the process by themselves. So I would like to almost get to the conclusion here that what I learned is there is one enabler, which is very important, is how can we learn and how can we develop the product design? How can we do a design for the OTOP product? And then one of the enabler is we need to have a university community engagement. I think for me to share with SRHA, it might not need to be university community engagement. It can be like NGO community engagement or SRHA community engagement. But at least we need to make sure that we have someone who is capable to walk with the community, to work with them, to identify the needs of the community, so that once we pass the pandemic, we can revive, we can get back to our usual, our usual situation of economy. So we need also another enabler that is very important is the ecosystem. We need the cooperatives within the community. So it should not be, a single person who is responsible for all the work, but it should be a collaborative work, and it has to be in the cooperative system such that all members, they have equal share. So I think this related to the dimension of the social of the sustainable development. So by having cooperative system, I think social benefit can be shared to all community members, and that's what we want for the sustainable development, especially at the local level. So if you have time, you can go, check out my website. I, not only, work with the community, but also look at the producer. We check, how many OTOP producers that we have in the area that I responsible for. I look at, the way, what are the driving factors? If we want to improve local community, we also need to look at, the way to improve the competence of the producer or the SME or within the community. So I call this driving factor for the productivity and supply chain improvement. So in order to increase the revenue, I think after the pandemic, so we need to increase, economy, improve the economy of the local. So this might give you some idea that when I do another survey on the SME within the community, I find that this is the research question that I would like to answer. Is there any factor that we have to contribute other than the product development? What should we do? What else we should do? So is there any factor that we can contribute? So, and what we see here is there are many factors, but the main factor that we see is the marketing strategy. We find that lots of community, they lack of the marketing strategy. And also a lot of community, they lack of the system to use the data, especially the cost and the production data. And the last one is the material supply chain, because community product, they are really heavily based on the material within the community. And many times, material, even though it's abundant in the community, but we have to think about how we prepare the material beforehand, because most of the material are agricultural material. It needs time to grow, and therefore it needs time to prepare. So material supply chain also need to be considered if we want to increase the competitiveness of the whole community as a holistic perspective. Then it's not only the product, but also the way that they manufacture the product, the way they manage the work on the production part as well. So these are the things that I would like to share. So I think this is my last slide. So the conclusion is, under the new normal, there is new opportunity exists, and market challenge of the auto product development in the new market has given you an example that based on this new market, we can still use the same protocol, the product development, but we just need a new mechanism. Right now, I would like to propose that we need to have some engagement program. It can be university community engagement, or can be like SR Asia community engagement, so that we have someone to work and to walk with the community members. And we also need to look at the factors that we need to improve, not only the product development, but also the competence, how to produce, how to manufacture, how to market, how to prepare the production as well. So this is the last slide that I would like to make the final remark. So I think I will end my slide and allow maybe some participants to share or discuss.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Vishay. Thank you for a very deep insight on auto. And there are some questions. So first, I will not say anything. I will go directly to the questions now. First, I want to allow to talk Mr. Tim Jahid. I think he can ask you the questions online. Yes, Mr. Tim Jahid.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sumaya, for your introduction. And thank you, Mr. Taichu, for your nice presentation in this new normal. My only question is here that the model you have presented here is a very fantastic one. The thing is this, in the community level, when you work, so there is in the community level, there's a there are some underprivileged people who are less educated, and they don't know about the online system, and they don't know the mechanism even to handle the online system. So which you may treat as they don't have the digital education at the moment. So if they have they are producing their product, they produce the product, so how can they avail the supply chain if they don't have the online system? Because in this pandemic, so the movement is restricted, as well as the movement of the people from place to place is costly one also. So can you please suggest any other alternative accepting the online selling system of the product, especially for example, especially the food products? Thank you very much.
Yes. So first of all, I would like to say that all the OTOP product not in the online platform. So I have seen a lot of OTOP product that has been sold with traditional way, like phone call, or using line or whatever application on a cell phone. A lot of OTOP product, they don't have the online platform, but they can still doing good. I think the idea that I would like to share here is, even though in Bangladesh we have many communities who have no access to the online platform, but the concept is, what if we look at the community from the competence perspective? We start asking, my concept is, are they capable of understanding the new market? Do they know what the new market for their OTOP, for their product is? So I think we need uh, to change the mindset of the communities, that instead of making the traditional product or the product that has been provided 5-6 years already, if they can change the mindset that there are new opportunity exist, then that will be the first step. So what I would like to, what I want to share and answer to Tim is, I think online is play a very important role, but it's come later. You will sell product once you have the product. But if you have the product that doesn't meet the need of the market, doesn't meet the need of the market, then it's no point to have an online. So online might not help, even though you have a good online system, but if the product doesn't satisfy the customer want. So the idea is, we have to start from the basic, that is, if the local community members, do they have competence to understand and identify the new opportunity for the new market? If they know these opportunities, then would they be able to develop the product that satisfy or meet with the new market? And can they provide the product consistently with the demand? And they, which mean that it's not just today I want to make some product, tomorrow I don't want to do anything, I just laying down and take relapse. So when we have to change the mindset that to keep the economic running for the community, so we have to have a consistent production, we have to have consistent supply of the product to the market. And what I learned is, many community in Thailand, lots of community members, they do product development as a secondary job. It's not their primary job. Their primary job might be agriculture or something else. So that's the problem that has been one of obstacle for the local community, that they don't have a consistent production. They don't have a consistent work on these kind of things. So, but if we change their mindset and help them uplift the competence of the community members, then I think they will be able to provide, produce, and sell the product. And the way they sell the product is not only the online that they can do. In Thailand, there are lots of government programs. They have different fairs, happenings, all over countries. So, and the community that I work with, they went to the fairs. They have trade fairs, different places. And whenever they went to different places on different fairs, they always report that they can sell products. So I think this is the thing that I would like to ensure, that even though you don't have online platform, it doesn't mean that you cannot sell your product. There are different, means, different channel you can provide, opportunity to yourself. But the first thing is, how can you start with the right product for the right market? And especially, we have to define the new market under the new pandemic, the new normal situation that we are having right now. I hope that answers your question, Tim.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ushai.
Yes.
Can you stop sharing the screen? Yeah. So you have another question. Yes, you have another question, that is, in OTOP, how can you ensure the quality of the products can meet certain standards required by the market? What is the methodology and approach to ensure the capabilities of producer can follow the standards?
Okay, so in terms of the quality, so luckily that for the OTOP program, because it has been initiated for almost 20 years, so the government knows that for the product from the local community to be sellable, they need to have a standard. And the standard that I'm talking is that I'm talking is not ISO 9000 standard. We call a product standard of the OTOP. So the government start the OTOP standard program. So every OTOP product need to meet the criteria. And luckily that all the product that we develop, we check with the condition of the standard and it meet the standard. So regarding the question on the standard of the product, so we have checked the characteristic of the product that we develop and we confirm with the requirement on the government regarding the OTOP product standard. And regarding the production, what we do is after we upskill the community members, we have, like you see in the picture, we have several workshops try to help them. And then we work with them. We have at least 3 lots of production. So they have to start building, they have to start making the product by themselves. So we have provide them with time consult and also some of the resources so that they can start producing product by themselves. We look at, if I remember correctly, each community they have to produce at least 2 lots of the product that we develop for them. And once they produce 2 lots, then they start selling the product. And then we check the result of, whether or not the product they can meet the need of the customer within the community and also for the general consumer. And we find that the production capacity is not the problem with the local community, but the consistent of production is a problem, which means that when you apply this same concept, you have to make sure that they have to seriously contribute to the consistent production of the product. It's not like if you have a production today and you stop for 3 days to do something else and you come back. So you need another system to encourage them. So that's why I propose that we need to build and construct an ecosystem that I rely on the cooperative system. So if you have cooperative system, I am sure that it's going to work very well.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Vishay. You have another question.
Okay.
Question from Uddin, Mr. Uddin. He asks that what challenge did you face for OTOP product in community, university, and other levels?
The challenge is time, I think. By doing the university community engagement, because the community that we approach, they are the community that they would like to learn. Therefore, there's no, it's not difficult to work with the community, but it's difficult to arrange, instructor, to arrange student, to arrange resource, from the university side to work with them. Because instructor, professor, they also have their own class to teach. So therefore, I would say that my learning is, I think it's the resource from the university itself. So we have to really well manage, the times and people, so that we align with, the schedule of the community. Basically, normally community they are pretty much available most of the time. So whenever we approach them, they are ready for us. I hope that help.
I am clear, and I think that you clearly mentioned you cleared this question already. So yes, there is another question, Dr. Vishay. This question, Mr. Mahfuzul Haq, he asks that how to link with the mainstream business for the sustainability of the model. He has 2 parts of the question. So this is the first part of the question.
Oh,
how to link with the mainstream business for the sustainability of the model?
Well, when I conduct a project, I have I have tried to connect, to make the connection, let's say, to make the connection between the local community with the business. And the business that I mean is the local famous restaurant business, because in Chiang Mai, is one of the hotspots for the tourists. So in Chiang Mai, there are so many good restaurants, and we have lots of foreigners visit different restaurants. Therefore, my idea is if we can link the product with food market by having the product display or having the product available in the restaurant, in a very reputable restaurant, that might increase the marketing opportunity for the OTOP product. So I agree with you that if we can increase the opportunity by make a linkage with the main business, that will definitely support the programs. But what type of business that we should link, I think it might depends on what the product that you are selling. So if you are selling product related to health, therefore that product should be displayed and should be available on the place that related to health, might be in the hospital or might be on spa or hotels. We do have some of the products sell at the spa because it related to health, and we find that the revenue is quite good on that point of sale. So yes, we need to make a linkage, and the way to make the linkage, I think it depends on what product groups that you are in, and then you might look at the context of the business that are available, that you might have be able to connect the local community with that business. So what I have done is I connected with the spa business and also the restaurant business. So I try, and I find that it's worked quite well. Yes.
Okay, and the second part of his question is, has this model been pilot tested? If you describe in detail.
Can you repeat again, Maya?
Has this model been pilot tested?
Has been.
Is it the pilot project?
Oh, I believe that it's not the pilot project. It might be someone else who tried to do the same, because OTOP has been almost 20 years already, like you said, like you have been informed. So I am sure that there are many university professors who involved with the product development. But what I would like to share is the work that I have done might be different from the other works, in that we are not looking at the product development only, but we look at the system, we look at the ecosystem, we try to verify what the concepts beneath, what the enabler, what are the model that we can deduct from our work, so that we can share this kind of model, so that someone can adopt and repeat the same success. Yes, there should be someone else who do similar things on product development. But for the one that do product development and also construct a model and mechanisms and try to verify and validate the concepts of the model, I think I might be one of the researchers who have complete a different step of the work.
Okay, so I think that you already covered this. What is the idea behind this OTOP, and what market linkage system is designed for the success? Okay, another question I got from Mr. Dr. Samardanta Pusaka. In OTOP, are there any rules on sharing the profits? For example, what is the percentage for the marketing and for productions? This is likely an issue in a community-based business.
In Thailand, there's no any rules, so it depends on the community. So you have to manage things by yourself. And a lot of many communities that I know, they have their own rules. But and it can be different. The revenue from the selling of the product can be shared. Some of the community, they have their own proportion of share. So community members, they have to invest, some of community, they invest money so that they can use money for buying raw material and making production. So everybody will have their own share. The amount of share that you have will correspond to the amount of the profit, I believe. That's what they are doing right now. But you can use a different rules, and there's no standard rule. It depends upon what has been agreed upon community members. Does that help?
I think so. I'm clear. So another question from Vasanthi Rajendran. She is from India. She asks that how has COVID-19 impacted auto? In India, we are adopting auto as a measure for revival of rural economy. Any suggestion do you have?
Oh, this is probably the same. We have impact in Thailand as well. But well, for health, of course, that we know that there are measures that we have to take. We have to follow the protocol regarding to the health of the community members. But nonetheless, we have to get back to the same economy level. Therefore, in order for the community members to come together and work together safely, we have to also follow the protocol. So yes, in Thailand we do have impact, a huge impact as well. But for communities, some of the community they does have impact, but some of them they do have more opportunity because the one that I work with, they come up with the mask, instead of doing the massage, product, they use the cloth that they weave by themselves, but they normally use the woven sheet for clothing, but they use woven sheet for the mask itself. So there are opportunity, happens with the community as well. Not all community have, impact, but some community they do have, more opportunities compared with the impact.
Thank you. Virendra, do you have anything
Yes.
to say to
Yeah. I also have a query to Mr. Vishai. This OTOP, OTOP, perhaps is also is being promoted in India as a, one district, one product towards the self-reliant India. What is your views that how it will impact the global players, in expanding their route to everywhere? So is it in reversal to the global economy in any case, or once the product is developed, will the those big player comes in and again do the acquisition of these local products? I mean, how do you see this?
Well, what I have seen from working with the communities, I think it is possible to upscale the OTOP product to the global market. And there are some OTOP manufacturer who is capable of uplift their standard of production. They are OTOP product that has been certified with ISO 9000 quality system. They are OTOP product that has been certified with the food and drug, that certified food and drug requirement of the government, and they can sell the product online at the global market as well. So it is, I think it's quite likely that if we do this, in a systematic way, then we can expand the impact, the size of the local economy, and have more revenue generated if the product can get into the global scale. But it takes time, so because I would say that only at most 10% of the manufacturer OTOP product producer, let's say OTOP producer, I think at most 10% of them will be capable of getting into the global market. Because in order to do that, you have to have a very good and systematic way of working. You have to have investment, and you have to make sure that the product meet the standard. And the standard is one of the things that has been a big obstacle for the producer. and also the funding to construct the environmental, construct the building, make sure that it can they can protect safety of the product. So I think it's likely that we can upscale the OTOP product and having some of them into the global scale. But it might take a systematic way of approaching, and it might need a big support from the government. It's not quite an easy task, but if we can do that, then it's going to have a huge impact, and it's definitely going to help local economy, like you already mentioned.
And I have another very quick, a very small question. I mean, query rather. Are these OTOP anyway are being supported by government in a policy document? Are they being recognized anywhere in the industrial policy mechanism? Any idea on that?
Yes. So right now the government have support. They continue their support for 20 years already, but they're not giving money. They're giving opportunity. They're giving chance. That's why they have a programs. They have officer from the government to visit the local economies and try to identify the needs. And also they have many training programs regarding the product development, product testing. They construct an infrastructure such that the community, they can take the product to the infrastructure to that place, and they get the product tested. So they provide infrastructure, they provide system, they provide training, and they provide opportunity for the market. And there are different market fairs that has been provided by, and whenever the government initiate the market fairs, they will invite then they cannot invite all the OTOP manufacturer producer, but they will select the one that has the best performance, that have the chance to get expanded, and then they provide the marketing channels. Right now I know that they try to make an online platform so that community members can plug in their product within that platform, but it still doesn't work really well. I think the easiest thing that they can sell the product is using mobile apps. That one of the most popular tools has been used by lots of community members.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Vishai. I think there are lots of things to do, and we have many things in our hand to do also regarding this model. It is really very interesting, and I am requesting the viewers, attendees, if you have more questions about OTOP, because we got some more questions, but as you know that our next session has to start. So if you have more questions, or if you need any support on this model, you can directly communicate with Sir Asia. We certainly share with Dr. Vishai whether he can support or not. So
definitely.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so now Dr. Hiroshi, we cannot see you. Yeah, so this is really a pleasure to bring Dr. Hiroshi, Mr. Hiroshi Tachikawa on board. So today he will speak on very proactive model in today's session. So let me introduce him to the audience. Mr. Hiroshi is the Managing Director of ProFarm Japan Company Limited and a technical MFCA expert for Japan. Mr. Hiroshi has more than 15 years of professional experience in sustainability, material eco-efficiency, or you can say circular economy, material flow cost saving, analysis, accounting, sustainable and environmental health and safety risk management on behalf of a number of major Japanese multinational manufacturing corporations, including those in the automotive, pharmaceutical, chemical, semiconductor, oil and automotive sectors in Japan, India, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, and a number of other Asian countries. So, yeah, through the MFCA projects in Asia, cost reduction amount reached more than USD 2 million. It's a huge number. Yeah, amount is good. He has also been leading international standardization of MFCA, ISO 14051, 14052, and 14053 as technical expert for Japan and a member of the Secretariat Group. He is working member of OECD Sustainable Manufacturing Toolkit, including an approach to assess impacts and efficiencies related to energy and material use. Mr. Hiroshi is the Director of Secretary Office, Managing Partner of Material Flow Cost Accounting Forum, and he is also Managing Director of International Environment, Health and Safety Governance Organization. So thank you, Mr. Hiroshi Tachikawa, to support us in promoting ESG, and your voluntary support towards this effort really means a lot. So now I am inviting you to share your insights on how to build a culture on waste reduction at source for business sustainability, especially if you can share how actually business can be benefited out of this to survive in new normal. Yes, Hiroshi Tachikawa. Mr. Hiroshi, can you hear? Are you here? Hello. I think there are some internet connection. Yeah, he is back again.
Okay, so, sorry, I think something's wrong with my connections here or there. I'm not sure, but I'm sorry just for the interruption.
Are you there, Mr. Hiroshi? Well, so I think this is the internet problem, and this is also a negative side of the technology. Yeah, it's back again.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know. Something's wrong with my connections. I'm sorry about this. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, very good. Okay, it's okay. Thank you. So shall I start or?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, first, like, my apology for the connections. I'm just switching to my computers to another computer. So please just give me like just 1 minute just to show my presentations. Okay, sure. Okay. Okay, let me show you. Okay, I hope like you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I understand that my session is, my presentation is going to be rather brief. So I'm just going to focus on the key points from my presentations. So at this time, I'm just going to highlight what we call like the building a culture of waste reductions at source for business sustainabilities. So what I'm going to talk is there is the several concepts that's related to the management of the waste, or probably we can say like a non-product output. And also at the same time, I remember that Miss Maria just gave me one topic about the how like this can be potentially like be related to the COVID type of activities. So I'm just going to touch on the the sort of like a current trend about this like unusual and also like very difficult the time like how we can utilize sort of like productivity enhancement activities as well as the sustainability enhancement tools. Okay, so again like so thank you very much for the kind introduction of myself, which I have interrupted with my connection, so I didn't hear so much. But my basic background is, I think that it has been introduced. But the key point is my original background is coming actually from the sustainable resource the management from the university in the US, and which was the basic start of my activities. And since then, I spent around almost 20 years in this field, which means environmental management as well as the environmental efficiencies. So my basic background is from environmental as well as the sustainability side, but at the same time, I see the lots of the phenomena whereby this sustainability actually meets lots of different fields, including the productivity enhancement, some sort of accounting management, and also of course the productivity management. So today what I'd like to convey at the most is currently we see that the ESG a concept is getting very, very active. But of course, it's rather, we can say, it's a very new concept in a way. And the question is how we can integrate or incorporate this type of new concept into our day-to-day actually activities, including even today's activities, and also even tomorrow's activity, in a way that doesn't really disrupt dramatically our existing lifestyle or approach. So what I'm going to talk is just one of the answers that can actually be the basis for our future approach that cannot that will not compromise the futures, but at the same time we see the some sort of the benefit for our present time activities. Okay, so obviously we see that the material resource is very, very finite, and we need to actually control and manage our resource in a very effective ways. And when we say effective, there are actually two components, and one is actually the effective for the finite resource when it comes to the natural resource aspect, and also at the same time. We see that it needs to be effective for the day-to-day our business or industries activity as well. So we need to see where that those two different aspects can meet, and also we need to see consider about the effectiveness. And for those aspects, probably when it comes to the management of the resource, which consists of the reduce, reuse, recycle, which is a very famous concept, the 3R concept. We need to find out a way that we can actually see if there is any opportunities for the reductions. Because obviously reuse, recycle, and of course landfill, these are the activities that can happen. But when it comes to see the impacts to the sustainabilities as well as the cost aspect for the businesses, the reduce is the most effective ways, because first it's going to be a less cost, and also it will not take the take the additional new resources that will be taken when it comes to the reuse and recycle activities. So again, of course, that this reduction is going to be the best approach, and you know, like in many cases, you know, people feel that like there is not so much a way like we can reduce more because we are in very good shape when it comes to the efficiencies. So first, you know, for this type of questions, are you really actually at the optimized level for the reductions or not? So that's going to be probably the first questions that can link what we are doing like every day with this like a sustainability as well as the accountability concept. So again, like in the business with the sustainabilities, and again, like it's not really that easy stuff that you will fully integrate or incorporate this concept into the business settings. Why? Because first, like people don't know too much, so much about the concept, and also the current like the many of the business model is not really in a design in that way that can like fulfill like this sustainability needs, especially from the social aspect. So again, like the question is how you can link like your day-to-day business management or like at least like short-term or mid-term like the business activities with your like environmental or sustainability goals. So here is the one chart that actually shows about this like internal as well as the external sort of the target settings. And we still believe that like this can be a very good way to start your like sustainability efforts or like, your sustainability activities based on your day-to-day activities. So on the left-hand side, you can see that we consider that like there is the concept called like internal target, and internal means that it's actually inside of the company or inside of the profit-making like organizations. So for this, we see like their goal is increasing profit and of course improves productivities. People do not really complain about like if like we achieve like those two actions like for the internal like business business activities. And for the society needs like when it comes to the ESG, we definitely need to reduce like our environmental impacts. And also we need to contribute to the social well-being. So these are the sort of like the needs that can be boiled down like from the current like ESG needs. So simply we need to be sustainable for our societies and also for our companies. So one of the way that we do this type of approach is like one of the tools that we call it like is the material flow cost accounting, and this like these tools highlight your efficiencies in terms of your materials, and now actually we move on to expand our scope to include the people's actually the productivity and also the efficiency with this concept. So, so some of the companies that are still like doing this MFCA activities in Japan, and also we see the increased numbers, especially in India, who has been implementing this MFCA, the concept. So what is this concept is all about is really like we highlight basically the companies actually the output that's been generated from their production process and also the business process as well. So when we see, for example, like the manufacturing, it's very in a way easy to understand what is going to be the non-product output, which means like probably the one with it is a waste. And also now, again, like we also talk about the non-product output means like, for example, like a time of the peoples, interaction with the peoples, which doesn't really like generate any like sort of like the money or the values from there. So when it comes to this concept, the MFCA or material flow cost accounting, this highlights this like non-product output, which we never consider it as a what we call like we don't call it like a waste, but basically like we call it like non-product output, or we call it like non-negative product. So which means we do not really generate it as for the sake of the disposal, but rather we actually generate it as a result of our business activities. So it's actually same as your product. So that's a sort of the paradigm that you can take a first step to consider where you are located or where you're positioned in terms of the sustainability activities. So that's going to be the sort of the key, like a linkage from your like day-to-day productions to the long-term like sustainability activities. So simply, what would be your non-product output or negative product? So obviously, like this concept, the MFCA type of concept, which means like an input and output thinking, covers lots of the sustainable development goals, and which we don't. I don't have a time like to discuss like very in detail. However, like these like like for example like the goals like 9, 12, as well as the 13. So these are the probably like 3 key goals that can be covered with this MFCA. So again, like you can basically highlight what is not really like effective in your business activities, which is actually the cost, the source of the cost. But at the same time, this is going to the cost for you in terms of the sustainability and the needs that the society expects. So that is the key message from this the slide. So this MFCA concept that has been becoming the sort of the standards for the ISO standards, and we see especially the third standard, which is going to be very effective for the small and medium enterprise to be implemented. And this standard is going to come up and it's going to be published like next year, and which currently like we are developing, and then it's almost like a final stage to do that. So please just remember these 3 standards, and especially the last one, 14053, is going to be the very simplified steps for any companies, any organizations to implement and to see the level of your maturities in terms of the sustainabilities based on your day-to-day the production activities. So the lots of the companies actually basically like see the very tangible actually the benefits from their like production like enhancement the efforts that has been happening, and these are some sort of like selected the companies. And again, like we are talking about here the efficiency in terms of the productivities, but at the same time there is always an environmental benefit. And this table actually summarizes only for the business benefit aspect only. And we also add like some information related to the environmental benefit, and which talks about the reduction of the carbon emissions, reduction of the material use, and also now again like we expand these activities to the labor efficiencies. So which means for example, like with the limited interactions, like during this COVID like difficult time, we see what would be the like the productive like positive actually like the labor activities, and also what would be the negative labor activities. So we do that type of assessment, which has happened like last 2 years, and now like we would like to see how this can work for this this like difficult like the COVID situations. So for this MFCA again, like I think I hope like some other speakers is going to touch a little bit more in detail, or I hope like we can have some other opportunities. And also I see there is some demonstration project already completed in Bangladesh for this MFCA. So I hope like some people are very familiar with this concept. But the key point again is this is not really like only talking about money, not talking about the environment, not talking about the productivity, but we talk about those like at the same time. But for the business peoples, what catches their attentions is going to be probably, I think it's going to start with cost or profit. So in that sense, for example, like this type of like chart that on the left-hand side, this talks about the very general like profit and loss discussions. And on the right-hand side, this is talking about the resource efficiency-based profit and loss statement. So both are actually talks about the same output, which is the profit is actually 2.5 million, which you can see at the very bottom. But you see, like when you put this on the left-hand side chart in the context of sustainabilities, you see that there is some negative impacts, which is negative for your business, and again, like which is negative for the environment, and also in terms of the ESG concept, it's actually considered as a negative because it obviously doesn't generate any the impacts. So you can actually highlight like this type of the negative the product per se from your conventional like a statement, so that you can actually highlight to increase your profit, but at the same time increase your environmental performance. So this is what we can interpret like from this MFCA or material efficiencies or eco-efficiency methodologies. So this is sort of the key slide that actually gives the people's, like ordinary, like business people's, so how you can actually think about the sustainabilities in the context of the existing business approach. Okay, so just jumping on the very some concepts about the what we call like the 7 wastes, which is related to lean productivities. And as I indicated to you, now like we see this material efficiency related concept, which what we call like MFCA. We expand that concept to the even the like the people's productivities. So for example, like in the case of like the very limited, for example, like the people's interaction is allowed, like due to the hygiene issues, health and safety issues related to the COVID. We can actually assess our input time efficiencies for the sorry. Yeah, with the this concept, like and then like just doing the lean concept in terms of the people's interactions, people's like productivities, so that actually you can actually within the limited time or that has been allowed, like during the COVID like situations, we can minimize the people's activities by assessing their like productive as well as non-productive output by like using this MFCA concept. And this is what we call like actually it's a green approach. It's like a GLEAN concept that's actually related to the that covers all of the input, not only materials, but the people's like time input as well. And then to see what will be the productive as well as what will be the non-productive. And then like you can actually translate these output in the monetary terms, so that you can talk with the peoples who are doing like day-to-day business activities. So just a very brief concept is really you see the here's the input, and then obviously there is operations, which is the business operations, and then here's the product output, and then the original scope for us is we see the materials, which is a positive product 50 and negative is actually 15, like for this case. But nowadays we see that like these like for example energy, which is related to carbon, but at the same time the people's times that has been wasted in a way that doesn't really related to your positive the product concept, so that you can actually minimize people's presence. So that like you can increase the people's safety and health as well as the time efficiencies. So basically again like this MFCA actually highlights these like hidden values of which has been typically overlooked like from the conventional activities. So that's a sort of the key message from this chart. So for my brief presentations, the conclusions is the definition of the waste or non-product output is a key actually to enhance productivities, as well as even the safety of the workers against the COVID, the situations. And also this MFC concept is a first key steps that supports actually organizations who are wondering if they can take the first steps for this ESG effort or sustainability effort to see what will be their tangible benefit in the context of their day-to-day the business activities. And the third point is this MFCA is a very proven approach, and which has been actually proven based on a number of case examples. And also, I think there are case examples in Bangladesh as well. So you can take like those examples first, and then to see if this methodology can work for your organizations. And again, like at the same time, there is another standard which is 14053, which is coming up next year, and this is going to help you a lot, like to take a very initial assessment of this the effectiveness of this like material efficiencies, and also like even the time efficiency the methodologies. So thank you very much for your attentions. And again, like my sincere apologies for the some interruptions due to the some connections at the initial the timings. And I hope like you enjoy my presentations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hiroshi. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Hiroshi.
Thank you
for a nice presentation. And as you rightly said, he completed a project on MFCA, demonstration project on MFCA.
That's very good.
And it was in leather sector. We shared at the beginning of this session.
Mm-hmm.
So one company in the leather sector, they saved 1 million taka in 1 year. So this is really very effective tool we found. And yes, we are also trying to get support from government also to implement this tool in different other sectors also. In NPO, Ministry of Industries, they are implementing right now another project on MFCA in sugar manufacturing companies. Okay, so SRHA is not implementing. This is implemented by Ministry of Industry itself.
That's very good.
This is another second project in Bangladesh of MFCA, but SRHA started with the first. Yeah.
Very good.
So Hiroshi, you have some questions? Yeah.
Okay.
The first question, I think already you answered this, but moreover, I am asking you, is there ISO standard for MFCA? Is it for certification? Is it for certification? Yes, this is it.
Okay, that's a very good question. So currently, with the ISO level, it's not like a certifiable standard. It's only actually the guidance, and there are two reasons. And one reason is, first, like this methodology is not really designed for the certification in a way that actually you can enjoy your cost reductions, you can increase your productivity. So it's actually a sort of autonomous the concept. And second part is the at the national level, actually at the domestic level, some countries start actually setting up the certification scheme for this MFCA. So actually it depends on the countries, but the ISO level, it's not same as the ISO 40001. It's different.
What is the difference?
Again, like the difference is this standard is only the guidance standard. So ISO 40001 is a certifiable standard. So it's a different. So we are family, but we are different. Yeah, different members. Yeah.
Yeah. Like ISO 26000, this is a guideline, not certifiable.
Right.
So this is the case in the MFC also. So Mr. Tim Jadid, he asked a question. He is from Dhaka. He asked a question. Can you please explain the difference between positive cost and negative cost?
Okay. Okay, it's a very simple. so positive cost means basically this cost that is related to a positive product. The positive product, that means those products that go into the customers. Okay. Negative product, those are the product or output that doesn't go to customers. Okay. So that's a difference. So the negative cost or negative product means, negative cost means we spend the money basically for those, anything that you use, however, that doesn't go to the customers. That's the difference.
Okay. Amazon Pusaka, he asked another question. Can Hiroshi present a successful case of MFC in Japan? How big is the impact in terms of cost saving? What were the innovations taken to reduce the negative products? So there are 1, 2, 3 questions. First is that, is there any successful case of MFC in Japan?
Yes, we have a lot of actually very successful cases that actually give us opportunities for cost reductions, of course, and then and also the lots of innovations, because we see there is the informations that has been driven by this MFCA, and that information can be a source that becomes a source for the innovations. So in terms of the cost impacts, these are actually, it's very different from company to company. So it's very difficult to generalize, how much is the cost impact, what will be the impact per se. And also it depends on the industry.
Yeah, and the second question is, how big is the impact? Okay, how big is the impact of that, if there is any big or any successful case of MFC in Japan?
Again, it depends really, but we at least see, for example, the huge case is just talking about probably around 1 million USD or 1.5 million USD type of impacts. It actually depends, and also how much investment you make.
MFC project, I just watched your profile and I saw that for the MFC project in Asia, cost reduction amount reached more than USD 2 million.
So that means I'm not involved in all of the Japanese projects, but even including those cases in India, for example, lots of cases in for example in other countries, if we make it as a total, then probably the amount, the impact is around that range.
Okay, so another question came from Virendra, that what are social and cultural context in implementing MFC in Bangladesh context? So Hiroshi did not work in Bangladesh, but you want to share anything, Hiroshi, about Bangladesh?
Okay. Actually, to be honest, I've never been to Bangladesh before. Okay. However, I welcome lots of people from Bangladesh to be trained for this MFCA program. They came to Tokyo, Osaka, these cities, and then I provided 1 week of trainings for them about MFCA. So my impressions from there, from my training experience for the people from Bangladesh, is that I think first they kind of I think it depends on the people, but they are very open to the new ideas and new concepts, and also they're very humble. So which means I think in a way it's kind of first easy to understand that concept of MFCA, and probably I think it's easy for me to see they integrate this. But the one thing that we need to be very careful is, sometimes it takes a little bit time to see the tangible result from new methodologies. Okay, so some people may feel okay, we have to rush and we want to see the result after 1 day, but it cannot happen. So these are probably something that I would feel, probably people in the Bangladesh may feel in a way. So we need to take a long-term view.
I think that I can add here
Yes,
regarding this question, because as already finished the one project on MFC in Bangladesh. So the main challenge we faced in Bangladesh to work with the factories, that one is that to MFCA calculate the accounting part on material flow cost. It is very important to maintain the productivity also. So the productivity improvement is very much required for the organization, because we have to understand that material flow cost accounting, it will not reduce the organization cost, but it is a accounting, environmental accounting system, management system, which will identify where the costs are more or less, so that management can take decision where they have to tie the rope. So this is the thing. So when we started the project, we started with improvement of the productivity level of the organization, and hands on hands we also work on MFCS. So productivity improvement and MFCA both went hands on hand. So this was the main thing happened in Bangladesh. And another thing is what Hiroshi also shared, that the mindset of the organization, that the leaders think that immediate feedback, immediate result we want. So this is very challenging issue to motivate and convince the organization. But yes, if once I can understand, I can make them understand, then it is very easy for them. Because I always say these things, that when we need to talk with the business leaders, we need to talk in their language. Where is their interest? When we talk to them, then we have to talk in their language. So yes, what is their interest, that we have to portray. So whenever they get the interest and find that yes, it is not others' benefit, in fact it is their benefit at the end of the day, so they can understand and they can do this. And which I also shared, that end of this project, one company saved 1 million Bangladeshi taka in 1 year. And so if they continue the process, then we envisage that it will go more. They can save more, a lot.
Exactly.
So I think there are some other questions. That's my first question. Okay. Another question from Team Jadid. We have 3 minutes left, so I think that you can cover this question. How could you measure and analyze the negative cost as it is already incurred in positive cost?
Okay. So again, the positive cost and negative cost is 2 different costs. So negative cost cannot be incurred in a positive cost, just based on the definition. So when we say like positive cost, this means this is an input cost that goes to the positively for your business, and the input cost that goes negatively is actually negative cost. So it's it cannot be same cost. It cannot be incurred in each other. So that's my answers. So if you want to know more, we need to spend more time just doing some training or workshop or something.
Mr. Jadid, another session is coming at 4 p.m. Bangladesh time, which is on MFC, on the technical issue, which will be covered by Mr. Alex here, and how can MFCA can be implemented in SMEs also. Yeah, so you can also see more about the technicality of this tool. And yes, so thank you, Hiroshi, for contributing to this session. And it is very great learning from you, and also the Japan understand how MFCA is going.
Thank you. And also, please just say, I wish all of you all the best during this difficult time, and I hope to see you guys all face to face very soon. Please take care.
Sure, sure. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
So yes, now thank you. Yes, now we are Dr. Ramesh Dhiman. Yeah. Thank you so much for being part of SR Asia, Dr. Dhiman. If I start talking about Dr. Ramesh, I think that I need to say many things, but of course, time does not allow me. So in a nutshell, let me say a few words about Dr. Ramesh. So Dr. Ramesh is the scientist G of India Council of Medical Research, which is called ICMR. He has worked on vectors of okay. Sorry for the pronunciation. I am not very much familiar with this pronunciation. Leishmaniasis, malaria, and dengue, and has around 35 years of field experience in biology and control of vectors and field epidemiology. His major field of research is climate change impacts on health, with emphasis on vector-borne diseases and early warning of malaria outbreaks using meteorological data and satellite remote sensing. Okay. So Dr. Dhiman has served as reviewer of Health Chapter IPCC 2007 and 2014 and has contributed for generic protocols for assessment of impacts of climate change on vector-borne diseases for CRO, World Health Organization, and served as temporary advisor on several occasions. He has also represented the Ministry of Health at World Meteorological Organization for Global Framework for Climate Service and recently at side event of UNFCCC during Conference of Parties 2020 on 12 November 2016 at Marrakech, Morocco. It was too difficult to pronounce all these things, some terminology, Dr. Ramesh. However, thank you very much. And so I am now handing over the session to Dr. Dhiman to educate us on building a new research direction on vector-borne diseases in the context of COVID-19.
Thank you, Dr. Sumaya. I express my thanks to you as well as to Dr. Raduri for giving me this opportunity to share my experience with this diverse group. So let me share my screen.
No. You can share your...
Yes, you have disabled.
Yes. Yeah, now you can share. And Dr. Dhiman, your sounds are not very much clear.
Okay, I will do it. Is it fine? Is it fine now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I will speak loudly.
If you can use headphone, I think it would be good.
Is it okay? Hello?
Yeah. Dr. Dhiman, yes, fine. Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I have chosen this topic. In the context of COVID, how we are managing vector-borne disease. See, before I go into the details, just to highlight that this global burden is very high, and you can see from this map how globally there is spread of vector-borne diseases. There are many diseases which I will name, but you can see right from Africa, Southern America, then India, and this whole continent. except the northern part of the world, we have full of vector-borne disease in the world. In malaria, there were 2.9 million cases and around so many deaths you can see from this. Dengue, yeah. Hello?
Yes, the sounds are breaking, dropping.
Dengue is the next most prevalent viral infection. It results into plenty of mortality. Its mortality rate is more than malaria. And another viral disease transmitted by Aedes mosquitoes is chikungunya. And Zika virus is a new coming threat which is also transmitted by mosquitoes. Then we have yellow fever, West Nile fever, Japanese encephalitis, and there are many tick-borne diseases. Chagas disease, leishmaniasis, forms visceral leishmaniasis, and cutaneous leishmaniasis. There are so many diseases throughout the world. But all these diseases are seasonal because they are transmitted by the insects. They are mosquitoes, ticks, mites, sandflies. Their body temperature is cold, so they have to maintain their body temperature. That is why there is seasonality in the transmission of these diseases. Because of the occurrence of COVID from January onwards, so there was some lean season for the disease. But with the onset of March, April, there is spurt in the vector-borne disease, and that is the time when interventions were required. From this chart, you can have an idea, like say malaria, in India, it is confined to certain area. So the reason is why it is confined here only, why in rest of the areas, there are some ecological and climatic conditions to make them suitable. Similarly, you can see for Kalajar or visceral leishmaniasis, it is present in this part, including Bangladesh also is there for Kalajar. Then you can see from this map, there are some diseases which are just restricted to some portion. This KFD is restricted to southern India where forests are there. So there is the requirement of the insects to transmit the disease as well as the climatic conditions make the transmission possible. If you see the World Malaria Report, you can see the total burden in the whole world, and there are around 1 million cases in the world and 4,35,000 deaths. India represents around 4% of the global burden of malaria. This is just to highlight that how we face the problem of COVID-19 in the country. In the month of March, there were hardly 500 cases, and now we have around 48 lakhs cases in the country. And almost whole of the country is having highest number of cases. This area has very high number of cases. And even Kashmir also we have cases. So the purpose of with this burden of COVID cases, we have faced several lockdown extension. Now we are in the phase of unlock down features, unlock 1, unlock 2, and unlock 3. But there were some restrictions which made the surveillance, management of vector-borne disease bit difficult. That I will share with you. So what were those restrictions which are mounting or rather detrimental for the control of vector-borne disease? It was not possible to go outdoors. No transport was available. We have to maintain distance. So we cannot be in group. We cannot do any group work. Sanitation mask is of course the precaution. Even after lockdown, restriction of movement is still there. In public transport, low capacity is there. So all the staff which are required for the research or interventions, they cannot come on their duty. Public transport is low capacity. In containment zones, if there are containment zones, persons cannot come out, and outsiders can also not go. So such type of constraints make the surveillance very difficult. Field work and teamwork is not possible. Then, before understanding how COVID-19 has affected vector-borne disease, we should have an idea that what are the strategies for control of vector-borne disease. Here I will give the example of only malaria. In malaria, there is surveillance mechanism where every 15 days, staff go to the field, they check the fever, they take the blood smears, or through rapid diagnostic tests, they take the blood sample for diagnosis. Then treatment managed for PYVX, there is treatment for 14 days, and for falciparum, it is for 3 days. Entomological surveillance is required. We have to go for monitoring of density of larvae and adult mosquitoes which are found resting in the houses. For control of adult mosquitoes, indoor residual spray is the practice which is being done, and there is particular time for that. So if the time is prohibition, we cannot move, we will not be able to undertake indoor residual spray. Then nets are distributed, long-lasting insecticidal nets are distributed to the community. That is for protection from mosquito bites. Net provides protection for up to 2 years. The insecticide is already impregnated at the time of manufacturing of nets. Then we have to monitor the therapeutic efficacy of antimalarials, the drugs which are being given, whether they are effective. We have to constantly monitor this efficacy, and as well as the insecticides which are being sprayed, we have to monitor whether these insecticides are working effectively against the vectors for which we have targeted this. For research purpose, we have to bring biological material, we have to bring mosquitoes, we have to study the susceptibility status towards insecticide, we have to see whether the mosquitoes are infected or not. The epidemiological investigations. Suppose there are outbreaks, how to conduct outbreaks. So all involves field work. So keeping this strategy in mind, then we will come to know what are the restrictions and how the restrictions are affecting control of vector-borne disease. In respect to other diseases like dengue, chikungunya, for dengue, entomological surveillance is the key factor. Based on the Plato index, this is one index wherein we count the larval stages from the field. Based on this, we go for alerts, and then we go for larval control. There are domestic breeding checkers in Delhi. They visit every day, every week, they visit all the houses and they see the larvae and immediately they release the insecticides. Then there is sentinel surveillance at some selected sites are there. For Japanese encephalitis, there is no routine. Japanese encephalitis, no routine entomological activities are there, but passive surveillance is there. For Kala Jar or Misal Leishmaniasis, ITN distribution is the activity which requires field work. Otherwise, for sand flies, there is no system from the program to collect sand flies and do anything. For filariasis, there is provision of mass drug administration. Persons have to go to field for mass drug administration. With the lockdown, all these activities are restricted. There is one disease, Kazno forest disease. It is prevalent in southern India. It is in forest areas. So in forest areas, there is no problem because human dwellings are not there. We have to go in forest, no problem. But vaccination work will be affected. Scrub typhus is a disease transmitted by mites. These mites are found on rodents. So if there are occasional survey for collection of rodents, then this type of field work cannot be possible. Yes, then there are some other. What is the impact of these lockdown? Suspended health services. All the health services were suspended because of these restrictions. Then outreaching to the persons, preventive efforts, all these efforts were stopped. No possibility of engaging temporary staff because nobody was allowed to come out. Then for undertaking indoor residual spray, usually staff is hired on seasonal basis. That possibility was also not there. Then limited ability to test the mosquitoes. If you want to test the ability of mosquitoes, whether they are being killed by the insecticide which is being sprayed, that is also not possible. Then community also, they fear, they don't allow. Even if somebody, nowadays even the month of August, September, somebody goes, they fear whether they should be safe from the persons who are coming and the health workers also. They think that we should be safe. We should keep a adequate distance so that they don't come in contact with COVID. That fear still persists. Follow-up of treatment. For PYVX malaria, there is follow-up of 14 days. Rural areas, usually people do not take for 14 days. Normal times, health workers can go and visit. There are ASHA workers. Every day they can find out the progress, whether the people have taken the complete drug or not. But during COVID time, it was not possible. Supply, shortage of supply may be there, so that to replenish the supply is also not possible. These are some of the constraints. This chart is provided by the national program. From this you can see for different states of India, there are particular dates of spray. This is first round of spray and here is second round of spray. So first round of spray in throughout the country, you can see mostly in the month of March, April or May. So the whole period we could not undertake the first round of spray. Second round, May, June, rarely in August, June, July. So this also we effectively, the second round also we could not complete efficiently. So keeping this in mind, we can assume what may be the impact on mosquito vectors. Their population will not be reduced, but because surveillance is also not that effective, that part we are not able to calculate right now. After the completion of December, then when the total cases will be compiled, then we will be able to judge the effect of this restriction. You can see here this one example. Why seasonality is very important in this case. This is just trend of cases. If the peak is here, so before 2 months we have to spray. This was the time for spray. Then again after 45 days, the second round of spray. If spraying is not done here, then the density of vectors will increase tremendously. And second round also, unfortunately, it was in June. That also could not be undertaken. It varies from area to area. You can see from here is another locality in Ahmedabad. So here the timing is a bit different. Just to highlight that seasonality and particularly this portion of the year was very critical for first round of spray. And even in some areas, even second round was also not very effective. That fortnightly surveillance, the health workers go for collection of blood smears will not be possible. There is no surveillance, then build-up of cases will be there. No diagnosis on time, no treatment, so it leads to outbreak. Because surveillance is poor, we are not able to detect outbreaks also. But in some areas, we have reports that the cases have increased 2-3 times more than the expected normals. No entomological surveillance for Aedes mosquito. So, as on today, there is no outbreak of dengue, but there was no check on the control of Aedes population. So, we expect that there may be outbreaks this month or next month. No indoor residual spray. First round altogether missed. New nets could not be distributed, and the earlier nets could not be replenished. So, this activity also was. Then comes the capacity building. This capacity building could not be done because there are sometimes theoretical knowledge and sometimes practical knowledge in the field. We have to train the staff in the field. That gathering of staff is not possible. We are finding ways how to overcome this type of restrictions. This map is just to show if we want to really see what is the impact. We have tried to identify this 18, 19 and 20 cases. Though this year is not complete, but in some areas we are finding some upsurge of cases. So it does not give the conclusive evidence, but it shows that in some areas cases are emerging because most of the peak of malaria cases comes in the month of October, November, December. So it is premature to comment on this. The same way dengue also we are seeing some areas, but expect that by September or even the next month there may be high incidence of dengue. The same way chikungunya and dengue they are transmitted by Aedes mosquitoes, so both will behave in a similar way. And in Japanese encephalitis, though there is no monitoring for entomological aspects, but this aspect field work is very less, so there is less information from the field. In Kalajar, we are in the elimination phase, and we expect that by 2021 we plan to eliminate Kalajar. But here, a lot of cases came up from Bihar and Jharkhand states, and we may see that these cases, though it is in elimination phase, but these cases may be very high as compared to last year. Now, this problem was realized globally, and WHO was very proactive. Government of India also realized this problem, that in the COVID pandemic we have to do something for vector-borne disease. So this slide I have taken from WHO document, wherein they have assessed if the intervention measures are 25%, 50%, 75%, what will be the future scenario. This is in sub-Saharan Africa. These are 9 scenarios they have identified. I will give you example of this. Access to effective antimalarial, if it is reduced by 75%, what will happen? And if there is no ITN and access to treatment is also not there, what will happen? These are 2 worst scenarios which I will share with you. Here you can see this is around 13% rise in cases is expected. And if scenario 9, around 23% increase in cases is expected. In this scenario, when yes, it is the number of deaths. Number of deaths you can imagine here under 9 scenario, 82% rise in deaths, 99% rise in deaths. So rise in deaths will be more because no complete treatment or compliance to treatment is not there. So these just cases, and these are the deaths. The different scenarios when we expect that the intervention measures may not be undertaken adequately. This is our health minister. He took a meeting, and we also realized that there should be some efforts, special efforts. So we should not sit at home. And in COVID-19 also, we should start some activity. This meeting was taken in the month of May, and from May onwards, some activity started for vector-borne disease control. So what WHO has recommended under the same scenario which we are facing globally, what should we do? Team should go to field, but they should follow all the guidelines which are given by the government. They should wash their hands, so then they avoid handshake in the field. The distribution, those who are distributing nets, their temperature should be checked. Then only they should move to field, because the community should not be fearful because of the entry of health workers in the villages. And they should wear masks. Then only they will feel comfortable. Then distance of this 1 meter should be maintained as per the protocols of different countries. And whenever health workers reach there and suppose they are going to distribute nets, there will be crowd, but that should not be more than 10 persons. So that should be maintained, and we should undertake the activity of distribution of ITM. These are the recommendations for indoor residual spray. The main message is that they say staff they should wear mask, and they should maintain distance. Instead of 2 persons together, there should be single person each room. And the vehicle in which they go, they should also have one team and limited to the allowed number of persons. In addition to driver, only 2 persons are allowed nowadays. And frequently they should not touch the surfaces like door handles or vehicles. And spray team, they should take breakfast, mobilization, all these restrictions which are provided by the government. Then instructions should be given to the family. They should also practice physical distancing whenever they go to houses. They should be maintained, and the program should work closely with local communities. Without their cooperation, it is not possible to undertake spray. Otherwise, they will refuse, and they will not allow, and there is no utility of residual spray. In the same type of recommendation for entomological monitoring is also there. It is very clear that these aspects of research, like just monitoring vector bionomics, this can be suspended and wait. So we should not do waste time on this. Insecticide resistance monitoring, bring mosquitoes from field, rear them in the lab, and then we can undertake this test. And this spray quality, all these things can be suspended. Here very clearly WHO has recommended. Then this IT and durability, these type of activities can be stopped. We should not undertake a study that how long the ITN will be durable, it will last for how much time. Non-routine entomological activities, they can be suspended. Insectary maintenance is required for evaluation of different insecticide against the vectors. That can also wait. We can do it based on the colonized insects. For case management, it's the same type of guidelines, but instead of taking blood slides, we should rely on rapid diagnostic tests that will give rapid results. There's no need of going to villages again and again. And we have to protect those individuals which are going in the houses, and health workforce should be protected. And all the tests, all these things are routine just for maintaining the guidelines of the government. Then what should we do in this context? What is the way forward? I had mentioned that what this situation has led to thinkers, and we have found novel ways, and based on the incidence of pandemic, how it is being managed, we have learned a lot. The same can be utilized for vector-borne disease. This is a tool, satellite remote sensing. Based on satellite remote sensing, we can map what is available on the ground. So if the requirement was for entomological survey for detection of breeding habitats, where the larvae are there, so this work can be undertaken with the help of satellite remote sensing. Even ecological change detection, there are some outbreak where the ecology of the area has changed, that we can see by taking images from satellite data, and we can very well detect the quantification, and we can find out what change has occurred without going to the field. Then endemicity level, by taking the image, we can determine the endemicity of an area for a particular type of disease. This is in the context of malaria. So we did this type of work earlier, and wherever these highly malarious villages are there, where these tanks are there. This type of mapping and endemicity, it can be done with the help of satellite remote sensing. Here we can map by taking the image, these are non-malarious areas. These blue dots, they are highly malarious areas based on the mapped ecology of the area. This type of work can be undertaken in the present scenario. Another tool is mobile phone. Mobile phone has been used for surveillance, but not very effective. This COVID-19 has taught us that we should rely on this technology, and it will be very useful. How it will be very useful? That if we community has mobile phone nowadays, if we give some app, malaria apps are there. So we have also developed this type of app. Community can inform whenever somebody is having fever, they will give a message. It will come to health worker, message and their symptoms. Immediately relief will be there. Then progress of compliance to treatment. We have given a strip of medicines. How many he has taken today, second day, third day. So if he gives photograph of that, he sends by mobile. So this can be monitored whether the compliance to treatment is being done properly or not. And the capacity building part, which is being done very effectively, not in the rural areas, but at a higher level, official level, for the persons who are having computers and Android mobiles, they can use this for capacity building. Nowadays, there are many groups globally which have been imparting training very effectively. For grassroots level workers who do not have mobile phones, even gathering of 10 persons, that can be done. But 50 persons, we can very easily use this for capacity. This is just an example of how mobile phone has been very effective in controlling the malaria situation. You can see this study was undertaken in Bangalore, Karnataka. The diagnostic laboratory is there. It takes 7 to 30 minutes, or no time. This portion is, I think, hidden because of the images. So it improved. Annual blood examination rate improved. Diagnosis improved. Positivity rate reduced. Ultimately, it was a very effective tool. Poor reporting was there earlier. So with the mobile phone, reporting became very dynamic. Then networking was better. Then follow-up action on the patients who took complete medicine, it was possible through mobile phones. And manual documentation was not required. And all these things were plugged. So this is the utility of mobile phone, which can be very well used nowadays in COVID situation. This is dashboard. We have not seen such a best way of dissemination of data than COVID-19. You can have daily information on many aspects which we have never thought of. If we utilize this type of developed dashboard for vector-borne disease, it will change the whole scenario. Actually, the availability of data on the dashboard prompts any researcher, policymaker for prompt action. I will just share with you. Daily cases, even the name, address, age, everything about individual level, recovery rate, discharge rate, persons tested, number of beds available in the hospital, diagnostic facilities created at the local, state, or district level. Full data is available in Excel sheet. With GIS, we can develop very nice maps, and with the development of maps, we know where is the problem. That problem can be plugged. Even nowadays, the congested colonies can be mapped through spatial data, through remote sensing and GIS, and we can find out the density also. These tools of remote sensing GIS are very, very helpful. Dashboard. This readily available information. It has not been so easy for any other disease than COVID-19. And researchers, that is why around 1 lakh publications have come up. Since the outbreak of this disease, 1 lakh publications of COVID alone. There is flooding of literature. And even WHO has made a database also. Many journals, they have provided free literature on COVID-19. What we have learned so that we can further utilize it for dissemination of information so rapidly, we have not seen in any other disease. Full support of government as well as WHO for combating COVID. We have not seen the cooperation from the police, teachers, NGOs, administration, food corporations of India. All have come together and everybody is helping in solving the problem. Pre-diagnosis. In the beginning, there was some post, but now realizing the difficulty of the communities, diagnosis is free by the government. Treatment at home is possible. In the beginning, we were creating hospitals for COVID, but now people can stay at their home, they can get best treatment. Daily monitoring of patient by health staff. Free oximeter to patients who are in their homes. Really, they can check their oxygen level. Food for migratory persons. Then free food for the persons who don't have any job. Then diagnostic facilities. You can see how many persons are screened in one day. Millions. Gradually, this number is increasing. Mass testing also in containment zone. Zero survey has been undertaken to see the exposure of the population to COVID. How much antibodies are available in the community, so that we can say now the saturation level. And WHO has provided a global data set that is also available. So many countries are heading towards development of vaccine. We have not seen such a rapid progress for any other disease than COVID. If we utilize or adopt 50% of these activities, the whole scenario for control of vector-borne disease can be changed. So the message is that it has taught us several lessons. Surveillance, we can supplement mobile-based, Android-based. Treatment can be monitored through mobile phones. This dashboard will create a lot of research activities. Nowadays in vector-borne disease, if you go for data, 10 years data, monthly data, daily data, you will not get it easily. But if there is some dashboard, we can analyze the data in a very nice way. breeding habitats of vectors, changing ecology, endemicity, all these things can be done with the help of satellite data and very rapidly for a larger area. By ground surveys, it is difficult. We will be doing some villages, but with satellite data, we can see districts and even whole state can be scanned through remote sensing. IRS and ITN can be done by following lockdown. This can be done with the recommendations of WHO. Even in lockdown or unlockdown conditions, we can undertake these activities with restrictions. Capacity building can be accomplished by virtual meetings. It has become possible. Everybody has so many maps. Google Meet, Zoom, My India, so many apps are there so that we can go for virtual meetings. Free diagnosis, free treatment, and tracking of cases. If these facilities extended to vector-borne disease, we can really achieve the goal of elimination. We have elimination goal for malaria by 2030, for Kalajar 2021, filariasis also it is just waiting, was 2015 and now it is extended. So three diseases we have for elimination. So all these things can be very rapidly achieved. Work from home sometimes give better outputs to scientists. They can do better work. Many persons have written so many research papers they could not write during office hours. This is the added gain which we all have for clean environment and no road accidents. The advantage we have. So if we adopt this advantage which we have seen for COVID-19, I think we implement towards vector-borne disease and add some tools of mobile technology, remote sensing, GIS, webinars, then we can very well achieve the goal of elimination for many vector-borne diseases. I think last slide. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Can you stop sharing, Dr. Dhiman?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Dhiman. But I apologize also to the audience because there are the sound quality was not that much good. So listen to you properly. However, Virendra, I think that you have something to say.
No, I think it was very, very informative, very much wanted, and I think it's for the global as desired. I think he has been technically excellent in terms of sharing to us that how it is linked to the vector-borne diseases. This is very important for all the Asian countries in particular that we somehow happens to have the similar ecology environment. So it's a common learning, for everyone, each one of us. This is also very important that, India being such a large country and Dr. Dhiman being at the center stage and being the very much into the vector-borne diseases and relating this COVID-19 scenario, which never have been the case, but then he also reflect upon that, how the government, how the society across the globe has reacted to it in terms of various interventions which were required for the society to take. And then again, he further states that, how proactive the citizen also has come up. He also states that, how aggressively people are working on the medicine to bring in, to control the disease. That is, and that's very, very informative, very technically, very considerate. So, Dr. Dhiman, I think you have given everything to us. And there are lots of questions, but I think due to the paucity of time, we have to move to the next speaker. So I would really like to thank you from core of our heart, because your presentation was most sought after in the given time, and you have shared the most desired information which everyone must be looking forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Rathuri. I will be happy to answer the questions if you can send by mail.
We will do that, and we will do that, and we'll share. Yeah. Thank you so much,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
Thank you so much, Somaya. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Dhiman. Thank you for your contribution. And also, yes, what Virendra also said right away, that the information which you shared at this situation, it is very important for us, to everybody, to know about this kind of recommendation, and also the way forward which you shared with us. Thank you. So now Alex, yeah. Alex, can you hear me? Yeah. So yes, Alex.
Yeah, I think that's clear. Would
Okay,
you able to hear
thank
me
you.
well as well?
Yes, Alex, we can hear you properly. And yes, I am really happy to see you again. Because back in 2017, I met you first during the MFCA program in by NPO, Ministry of Industries. And I was really impressed how you are technically very much sound on the subject on which you are working. So let me introduce Mr. Alex with all of you. That Mr. Alex is the Director, Ecolin Consultancy, SD and PhD. Alex Yap has more than 15 years manufacturing experience as Quality Assurance Manager in plastic packaging, automotive, body parts, and aircon system. He is an approved Human Resource Development Fund trainer and registered consultant with Malaysia Productivity Corporation. He is also recognized as a business excellence assessor and productivity specialist in the area of process improvement and performance excellence by MFC. Mr. Alex has worked closely with ASQ as Chief Proctor for various ASQ certification programs and recertification reviewer. He is a qualified auditor in ISO 9001, ISO 22000, and UNIDO certified expert in ISO 5001. Okay. So he is certified as a quality engineer and has senior membership in American Society for Quality, ASQ. It is called ASQ. He was an ASQ Malaysia local member committee founding member and also served as Malaysia's ASQ country councillor. He has trained participants and implement management system, Lean or Kaizen, and GP, that means Green Productivity, MFCA projects from organizations that over various industries. So thanks, Alex. Alex will talk about cost reduction method for MFCA. Few hours back, I mean, before our previous expert, Hiroshita Chico, also touched upon MFCA, and now Alex will talk about MFCA implementation in the MFCA, how in the SME sector, small and medium enterprise. So how they can reduce cost, and also he made links something with this pandemic also. So Alex, I am requesting you to share your presentation.
Yeah, just give me a moment here. So I'm sharing the screen, all right? All right, clear with the screen? So thank you for Sumaya and of course the entire SR Asia team for the invitation to share about some of my past experience, typically in cost reduction. So today I'd like to share with you a very simple cost reduction methodology, typically for small and medium enterprise in a very challenging period like now, all right? So they have all kinds of challenge. As you aware, for small and medium enterprise, typically they have very lack in terms of resources. Worker competency may not up to their expectation. Without proper management system, no long-term marketing strategy plan, and also inconsistency in terms of product or service provision itself. And most of the time, no data recording, lack of data, no long-term planning, no monitoring, and this is all about small and medium enterprise. But nevertheless, more small and medium enterprise occupying more than 95% of the industry for most of the country in the world itself. And coming to this month of March, all right, March onward, when the pandemic of COVID actually outbreak and all this happening, the external challenge getting greater on top of the internal challenge itself. So we can see we expected global recessions, decrease in terms of consumption. When decrease in consumption, that means decrease in the upcoming sales, and also supply chain interruption, difficulty with funding, financial impact, and all this kind of impact, so-called the external challenge, together with the external, the internal challenge that already happening. So what happened with small and medium enterprise, and what can they do? So in this context, I like to share with you one of the recent project that we able to help in the local manufacturing. So this is a wooden door manufacturer. They have around 120 workers. So 120 workers, in fact, they may be expect behind there's actually more than 100 family, who actually having their living depends on this company itself. So the annual sales for the past year is around 50 million for 1 year. It's not too bad, all right? It's not too bad. But what happened started from April to May. So their sales reduced significantly reduced 60%, and that will trigger what can they do? How they're able to survive in current situation? Not too much demand. Everyone throw in price and all that. So initially, the owner of the company, he talked to me that he think that he needed to survive the company in a way that the best way will be reduce price, make their product even cheaper. But how? How are they able to reduce their price further? So the first thing, before reduce the wages or the salary of the worker, they're thinking of, can they actually reduce the manufacturing cost? But if they want to reduce the manufacturing cost, when? Which area they're supposed to reduce? And they told me they have no competency, they have no previous experience in cost reduction, and they usually do not collect any data. Everyone just busy doing the routine work day by day, and they may struggling now how to reduce their product cost and where to start. And they have no equipment, nothing complicated, no system at all. All right, just 120 workers with more than 100 families. So in this context, we have several discussions. Eventually, we figure we should introduce them something that very straightforward, something that very simple, which everyone can do. So in this context, we decided to modify. I believe you heard what Sumaya mentioned just now, material flow cost accounting. Something sound very pretty technical and is catchy word with the terms accounting, all right? Is it for accountant, all right? So we decided not to use the MFCA, but we simplify the methodology. We only use some of the key concepts in view of the current situation of this company, because they do not have much competent person to carry out the project, to find out the collect data and all that. So we just want them to visualize all the resources in monetary form, because they wanted to reduce cost. So before we're able to reduce cost, we need to find out which area they spend most of their costs. All right. So in this context, first of all, we ask them to list out what is the step that involved in making the wooden door. All right. So as you can see from the screen, raw material, and no worry about this term. So this is the way that they're calling the process. The first step, once they fit in the raw material, timber, all right, cross cut, molding, then there's stage 1, stage 2, the painting process, stage 3, then the packing process. That's done. That's how they deliver their product. So this is the first step. That means they just visualizing what is the step involved just on a piece of paper. What's going to be the next step? So we ask them to start to feed in the information, visualizing. And we want to find out how much they spend in each of these steps as well. No complicated calculation, just add in the total cost. How many manpower, how much electricity, and how much chemical that you utilize for that particular step itself, and just put everything on a bar chart straightforward. So in this context, as you can see, they managed to do it in a very short period of time. So this is a cost information. Of course, for the purpose of presentation, I alter some of the figure to keep some confidentiality for the company. All right. So this is how the cost, how they spend on the cost itself. All right. So when looking at this, the distribution, I mean, visualizing of such cost, what's going to be your first perception? Which area should we start with? I believe it's quite obvious. So the tallest one is actually the one that we spend a lot. All right. So looking at this, the one that we call stage 3, we spend around 13,000 here. So $13,188 that actually spent, relatively high compared with other step of the processes as well. Then we will wonder, then we started to ask more questions. Why you spend that amount of money? So where all this money go, all right? So in order to find out this, then be able to distribute how much the total. We know 13,188, but the distribution itself, the ratio, that is something that what reflected on the screen. Most of the cost that spent here is actually on labor cost. Then we have energy cost or material cost and other costs that we spend for total of $13,188 that spent for stage 3. Now, what's going to be your next question? You may wonder why we spend a lot. Why we spend a lot on the labor cost. That's what we want to find out as well. You know, during this COVID period, the pandemic period, actually in Malaysia, we had this movement control order. That means we're not allowed to travel. In fact, only some very, very important industry actually they're allowed to continue with the operation. And for consultancy and training, unfortunately, it's not listed in that element, that category. So the factory, they're able to carry out their work, but not for our situation. So in this context, actually, they just send me the information, online meeting like this. Then actually, we're not able to on-site to help them. Then we ask them, hey, why you spend so much on your labor cost? All right. And okay, then we find out, we put some ask them to put a camera there to show us what they do. We call a time motion study. All right, a time motion study itself. And we find out actually 80% of the time they do something we call patching. The patching, you know, the raw material for a wooden door, in fact, is a wood. So it's a natural product. In a way that actually may come with some defect, some hole by worms and all that. So they needed to repair. So they spend a lot of labor. Allocation here is actually just to repair this, to flatten the hole and actually to paste the chemical and all that. So they spend a lot of resources in terms because of the raw material quality. Oh, all right, that's very good. So in this context, we asked them, do you have another grade of material? Yeah, they told us yes. Something like this. I believe you can see for the photo. This one is nicer, all right? It's something that treated the wood surface actually pretty much nice and shining itself, all right? So in this context, it's more expensive. So we check the price. We ask them, why not we give a try, see what's going to be the consequences, all right? You see, this is the outcome. This is the outcome. Why? You can see that the cost distribution before is this amount. After, it's going to be this amount. So what happened? So as you can see that the material cost as well, because you're getting a better material. So this one expand, all right? You spend more on material, but better material means that you won't need to spend so much time on the repair, not too much labor itself. So that means the labor cost is actually reduced. It's actually reduced. So we spend to save. So do we change the process? No, we didn't touch on the process. We changed nothing, but we changed the choice of raw material, the way that they buy raw material. Now they spend a little bit more on more expensive material, but they spend lesser in terms of touching up, rework, and all that. But in overall, they save the cost. So what is the result? Result, they're able to reduce the time to make up one door, and also chemical usage reduced by 70%, waste disposal cost reduced by 50%, overall manufacturing cost 30% reduced. So this is exactly what they want, but what going to be the outcome, right? So all this happened in April and May. So they reduce their price because they reduce their manufacturing cost. Now they reduce their selling price. They make online sales, and also they offer online. They offer online service as well. All right. Oh, sorry, I saw some pulling coming up in my screen. All right. So they also on-site installation because they have more manpower now because they spend less time in the production. So, and this is the subsequent what happening with the company. They achieved 20% sales increase in August, and without terminate any of their workers. So everyone still have their work, and they're still able to feed 100 over family at the same time. And in fact, they offer new service, value-added service, not only installing the wooden door, they also help to install any other type of furniture itself. Because now they spend less time on their manufacturing process. They have enough competence worker to offer to the industry. They're making very good result. Yes, they're still surviving, not really make big money, but the key point, the company survive. The company survive in a way, right? So next, I want to share with you another quick example. So I try not to shoot up some of the time too much, all right? So this is another manufacturing, small and medium enterprise as well, 200 workers. They had 3 packaging supplier. And also they want to reduce their bottles cost, all right? They use plastic bottles. So in this context, this is a traditional type of plastic bottles manufacturing process, high-end PE material, all right? Material, blowing, printing, quality control, then storage, all right? This is how it looks like in the process. There's supplier A, supplier B, and also supplier C, all right? In this situation, traditionally, we will ask the supplier, hey, could you please reduce your cost for us? But in such situation, the supplier is pretty much struggling to survive because there are lesser sales now. So if you ask them keep lowering their cost, then some of them, they may not able to survive anymore in the market. So this company, they try to play a long-term partnership and also strategy with all their suppliers. So they try to survive together. At the same time, they want to reduce the cost. Do not forget about the objective. So how are they able to do that? So they're reviewing all the processes. These 3 suppliers, they make the same product, pretty much the same process. So they're able to identify some area of improvement. I won't go into the details of it. So it's quite common in plastic and printing. But the key point here, you see, once they review all this information, they're able to compare the performance by each supplier, supplier A, supplier B, and supplier C. And I believe you can see there's bar chart here, 1, 2, 3. So supplier A, this bar chart represents their performance for their blowing process, the printing process, and also for the QC process. Overall, 88 and 12. This is we call the positive and negative ratio. That means this supplier able to produce 88% product and 12% waste itself, right? And how about supplier B, 82, 18, and supplier C, 86, 14, all right? The red color in respective bar chart is the wastage that happened for the particular process. Now, what can we do now? So this company, they talk to each of these supplier and ask them to have a joint effort. Let's survive together. Let's benchmark and learn the best practices among us. No need to benchmark elsewhere, but among us. You see, if I refer to blowing process, who did the best? You can see that supplier C did the best. And for printing process, who have the best? Supplier A is the one who did the best. And supplier A also did very good in the QC process. That means the lesser the red color part, the lesser the waste volume. So what we do now, we actually benchmark each other. It means supplier A and B come to supplier C to benchmark and learn about their flowing process, how they handle. So in order to improve their performance. So by learning from each other, this is what they're able to achieve. Overall, 92 to 8 now. 92 to 8. That means they reduce the wastages to 8% instead of previously 12, 18, or 14. So you can see that this is what we call the joint effort, benchmarking one another one, and increase productivity and also improve their performance, environmental performance. In fact, this is a win-win situation that actually both the customer and the supply chain all able to gain certain value or monetary benefit itself. So in this case, they share the profit and they reduce 30% in terms of the price based on what they achieve. So this is another example that you can see. It's not too sophisticated. The key point, we actually visualizing. We visualizing the performance, we compare and we learn. And the first case that I share with you, just visualize where is the money go. If you know where's the money go, you can follow where's the money go, then you're able to find out which area that actually you're able to help you to improve. So in fact, I call this a simplified version of MFCA for company. So it's rather easier to do. You won't need to do very, very complicated calculation itself. All right. So, and typically to address the situation for SME, no data, no competent human resources, no management system, no long-term plan, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Just start with very simple way to visualizing all your information. All right. So in fact, this is what I wanted to share for today. So I believe I have time limitation. I couldn't drag too much. You still have some other speaker to brief you of very, very other interesting topic. I believe I can stop here. If you want to find out more, I can share with you. This is some of my website. You can find out some more right up. And also, yeah, this is a link that actually can find out the cost reduction method and all that. And some of my presentation slide is over there as well. So if you like, you actually can scan the QR code as well. All right. And I believe I covered what I want to share for today. I'm ready to take any questions. And now, Sumaya, back to you.
Thank you. Very, very good presentation. And you know that the technical presentation, I must say, that SME, I think that the small businesses which can be benefited by applying this tool. Actually, we just before your session, Hiroshi Tachikawa was also presenting something on MFC. You know, Alex, that we also implemented one project on MFCA in Bangladesh. So yes, there are lots of opportunity for MFCA also for this kind of implementing this kind of tools. So there is a question, Alex, for you, that how MFCA can be integrated seamlessly in the management system.
All right, thank you for the question. For MFCA, if we wanted to integrate it into the management system, depend what management system that you're having. All right, let's refer to the very popular one, ISO 9001. Let's say for ISO 9001, we can integrate into the element of clause continuous improvement, and also in clause 6.3 in terms of objective setting. All right. So these two elements that you may consider to integrate it. But in ISO 14001, definitely this will help in terms of efficient use of resources, efficient use of natural resources. This is about for 14001. In fact, you're having ISO 50001 energy management system. I believe you look at energy, significant energy user and all that. MSCA could help part of it, but not all of it, because MSCA capture all the costing information, all the performance in terms of monetary. But nevertheless, one of the key elements is the energy energy part itself. So if we're able to improve the energy performance, so this one will also tie into the ISO 50001 in terms of objective and also in continued improvement aspect itself. All right. So basically, this is how we do. In my case, I usually will modify some of my client their existing procedure to bring it the tools or the activity of MFCS. So they mean they will actually continually doing it in a way that actually sustainable. So the key point will be you have to find the relevant clause to be integrated in, and you may need to touch up or modify the procedure to lock it in. So they mean eventually the surveillance auditor will actually check for you. All right. So this is how I actually integrate the MSCA into management system itself. All right.
Alex, can you stop sharing the screen so that people can see you properly?
Oh, okay, no problem.
Mr. Tim Jadid, he wants to ask you a question. Yes, Mr. Jadid, can you hear us? Mr. Jadid?
Yeah, I am on the phone.
Okay, so you can ask
Yeah,
your
I'm
question.
hearing. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Alex, for your very nice and as well as very calculative presentation for the SMEs. So thank you for that. My question is somehow is that our SMEs in Bangladesh has the around 25% contribution to GDP and 40%, about 40% employment in the SME sector. So it has a great significance in Bangladesh. But thing is this, that we have some, you have cited some examples like the doors and the bottle factories. So I am just saying you about the light engineering factory. Say is distant from the city, the Dhaka city. It is around 200 kilometers away. So thing is this, they have according, you have also some definitions in the different countries in different level. So a small enterprise level, for example, the definition is say from it is 60,000 and above, even it is $100,000 to $150,000 investment there. So thing is this, that light engineering companies in the clusters, they have suffered a lot during the pandemic, but since about 2 months, they've started their own work because, the people, the restrictions and the movements and other things are in implementation in place by the government for the health regulations. The thing is this, you rightly mentioned about what I'm telling about the. Can you hear me?
I think I lost some of the part. Sumaya, I'm not too sure. Am I lost some of the part?
Hello.
Yes, Jadid, we can hear you. We can hear you. Now you can continue from.
Okay. Thing is this, you rightly mentioned the reduction process is okay. The reduction of the, what you have said, the reduction of the energy, reduction of the labor, reduction of the material, all of these things. The thing is now is the selling of the product. So the question I have always in mind, that is because they are the underprivileged. You have said that they have no data, they have no plan, they have no that much long-term plan. So they are also not privileged for the online facilities because it incurs the installation cost, huge installation cost for the online system for selling their product. So what is your suggestion how they will sell their product if there is no, if they don't have the online facilities, number one. And number two, do you think how they can integrate themselves with the supply chain process with the big companies? So two questions, Maya. There are about the online facilities of the SMEs who don't have, because though they have the investment, but they are not that much educated. They're uh, not much aware of the even the online system. So this is number one question of competency. And number two is what is the process of integration with the supply chain to sell their materials? Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for the question. So let me take the first question first. The one that without the competence or maybe the facility in terms of online. All right. So in the case that I referred just now, in the situation of Malaysia. All right. So in fact, you're right. Before this, they do not do any online promotion. They do not know on how to optimizing the search engine. So they only have very plain web page. Very fundamental information, just the address, some photo of the company. That's all for the wooden door company. But nevertheless, there's another channel that we're looking at, all right? The official channel, yes, there may be some technical competency we require to do that. How we should arrange the website, how we optimizing, what is the keyword to search, then able to searchable in Google and all that. But in the situation of Malaysia, there's very high usage on Facebook. Very, very popular. The social platform, very, very popular. So in this context, in Facebook, nowadays the younger generation, they are very good. I'm old, right? I'm just an old man. For them, they are very good. They are very good in terms of
You are
live show. So in this context, they actually make live broadcast, right? Broadcast in terms of their services. So instead of using a very proper channel, so actually they try on the social channel. When you come on social channel, not too much formality, not too much technical, but it's the content, it's the appearance, it's the way they attract people to come in and all that. So there's a trend in Malaysia now. So many online. They make the live broadcast that they show. So some they give away some present and that. So they attract the crowd and join in. So along the way, they almost can sell everything from seafood, from furniture, for electrical appliances, watches, badminton racket, almost anything you name it. Even live type of fish and all that, they actually can deliver. My wife also bought a lot on that. So this happened with the company that I mentioned just now. So one methodology. So, but how about, let's say no Facebook, they do not know Facebook. I saw there's another example. It's not my client, but they serve the community. They serve the community. They mean they actually explore the community that they're able to reach. So because now in this situation, no sales. I mean the stomach is hunger. They have to do their best. So they actually reach all the community. The one that I refer, actually they sell vegetable. Vegetable during the restriction of control, the market is not open. The market is not open. So they changed their strategy. They actually asked their worker to go door by door, and also they contacted residential area together to let them know. So by what time we will come over in a central area. So because no contact, so they put on the box in front and also tag with the price. I'm sorry, I do not have the photo at this moment, right? So then people actually go and buy and actually pay. So they just stay in a distance to check the process. You see, this happen when there's no online. But nevertheless, online boundaries, you can reach very far, many type of customer. But without online, may be limited to the geography location as well. That's first, all right? But coming back to supply chains question, I'm sorry because I'm not expert in supply chain. So I'm afraid I may not able to take the question. So really apology on that. But throughout the experience, MFCA or maybe any improvement initiative, We do it with small, medium enterprise. Small, medium enterprise typically improve their cost performance. But for big supply chain, actually we help them to compare, just like the bottles example, compare and learn and also advance together. So this is a strategy actually we apply for big corporation. They apply between their supply chain, which they have a lot of say, they have the bargaining power, so they can ask their supplier to do that. All right. But how to integrate that? Sorry, is not my area of expertise. I'm really sorry for that. All right. Okay. Thank you. Any more questions?
The thing is this, just 1 minute. 1 minute.
And we have another question. Mr. Jadid, can you
say
write
1
your
minute?
question in the chat box so that we can convey the answer over? Because we have another speaker also, time is very limited. And we have another question also to Alex from another participant. So in a very, very short way, Alex, if you can answer this, that one question from India: does organization need to hire and build a separate team? If no, then how this can be assigned employee can take it additional job? Mr. Jadid, please write your question.
Sure, thank you.
All right. Jadi, in fact, I think you still can reach me to SR so I think you can forward the question. I love to take the question maybe of because now we have time limitation. All right. Sumaya, if I rephrasing the question, am I right to say that the question asking is that how to encourage worker to take additional workload without increasing their salary? Am I right with that?
This is just a question that whether the organization need to make a separate team for MFC implementation of MFCA.
Oh, okay. No,
yes,
in short, no separate team. No separate team. If the existing worker, you know what? The existing worker know best the process and where all these resources go and where all these waste go and where all your money go. They are the one. So just ask them to do slightly additional, a little bit on it, part-time. So in fact, they can do it during their working hour. So some of the project I share with you, the first example, the wooden door one, I think we did it together with them, I think less than 2 hours. Just collect some information, then we have discussion, we look at which area that we needed to shoot up the cost. So in this case, you see, you do not need full-time employment to do that. Your current employee, they are the best candidate. Just train them a little bit how to collect some of the information. Excel graph, that will do. All right.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Alex, for your nice presentation, and also that was a very informative session. Mr. Jadid from Bangladesh, he is always engaged with and asking questions. Really inspiring. Yes, we like this. However, so next I like to introduce Miss Joiny Young. You are the showstopper. You are the showstopper, Joiny. After all these speakers' speeches. So yes, so it is really nice to see you here again, and thank you very much for your contribution to SRH International Dialogue 2020. So let me introduce Joiny. Joiny is the Senior Economist, Director, Research and Science of CESR East, USA. She is experienced economist and interdisciplinary researcher with a demonstrated history of working in finance, health, and the think tank industry. She holds PhD in economics. So thank you, Joiny, and please take over the control from me and share your insights on behavioral insights and design thinking for sustainable enterprise.
Great. Well, thank you so much for that very generous introduction, Sumaya. I think that I'm very happy to be here today, and I'm also very happy to follow Mr. Alex Yap, because I also actually am from Malaysia myself, even though now I live in Singapore. And I'm also delighted to be here representing my Center for Economic and Social Research, which is at the University of Southern California. So what I'd like to talk to you about today, I know it's the end of a very long day, is about investor behavior and consumer behavior and how this explains some of the barriers that we've seen to sustainable enterprises. And then I want to sort of talk through some of how we see this manifest in barriers to the growth of this market and what this means for us in the post-COVID pandemic situation. So how has COVID created perhaps new challenges, but also maybe new opportunities for the growth of the ESG sector? And I also must apologize because from Malaysia, we speak very fast. It's always like this. And ever since I came to Singapore, it's even faster. So I would encourage, if you have any questions or thoughts, please do let me know in the chat, and I'll be very happy to spend some time afterwards going over some of these thoughts as well. Okay. So just to set up the frame of what we want to discuss here is really we want to think about why it is that from an investor point of view or consumer point of view, the idea of environmentally sustainable enterprise is so appealing. When we ask investors or when we ask consumers if socially responsible investment or all of these causes are important to them in surveys or in feedback or even in qualitative interview, many of them say that it's very important to them and that they care a lot about it and that they place a very high weight on it. But then at the end of the day, when it comes to buying product or when it comes to supporting the socially responsible investment, we find that there's a very big gap between what they say they prefer and what they actually do. And so what that means is that although for many of us, we moved into the sector on assumptions of strong consumer demand based on market studies, when we are actually in the market, we struggle. The other problem that we have is that the ESG sector for many years, people regard it as a nice to have, maybe not a must have, but something that could be done as and when we have extra resources. And even in the last few years, as ESG grows, people have said things like, well, it really is the function of having a very large amount of surplus. So in some sense, the socially responsible investment market is big because in general, people are wealthy enough to afford. And so some of these questions about the robustness of demand and the fundamental interests of investors and the concept of sustainability as something that's nice to have versus must have is something that I think is at the heart of all of us who come into this sector. We want to know, why is it that people say they want certain things and we actually see differences in action? Is it because people the true cost and benefits of the sector are not really in favor of socially responsible investing? Or is it because we have more fundamental issues here? What is it that makes people say they want certain things and not really follow through in this particular sector? And my particular field of research, as I said, I'm an economist. I did my degree actually in development and poverty economics and econometrics at a place called Stanford University. But one of the things I think after sort of taking the PhD in economics and also working in traditional finance for a few years is that it's very obvious on the ground that people don't make rational decisions when it comes to consuming. So we have a lot of economic models of demand and supply and investment where we think that people are rational investors. They look at the costs, they look at the benefits, they make some calculation about the expectation of return, and if the return is in their favor, they go for it. And this model of what we call the classic economic, the neoclassical economic model is premised on the fact that people are inherently logical, rational beings. This is what we call the sort of like the Chicago School of Thought. But in actual fact, and some of you may be familiar with this, for the last 30 years in economics and also in in the world of investments, we begin to understand that actually investor psychology is very much more complicated than this. And that there are certain irrationalities in our behavior that come about because the fundamental economic primes of our decision making are not in line with how actually human beings think. In the human brain, we have the structure called the cerebral cortex. It's the large part at the top of the brain. And this part of the brain has evolved to think about things in a very logical, reasonable way. It's the part of the brain that can think about the future. It's the part of the brain that can think about mathematics. It's the part of the brain that thinks, again, in a very abstract and formal way. But underlying this structure in all human beings is the what we call the instinctive brain. It's our reflex action. It's the part of the brain that's very emotional. It's the part of brain that's very automatic and very reflexive. And what that means in the work of Very recently, a gentleman called Richard Taylor, who won the Nobel Prize for his work here, investigating these differences, building on the work of another very prominent psychologist called Daniel Kahneman, is the fact that ultimately what it means is that we have two systems in the brain. We have two systems in the brain, and our dominant system is called system 2. And this is our slow, rational self. When we think of ourselves thinking, we are in our system 2 world. And this is the world of the economic theory, or the classical economic theory, if I put it that way. But underneath this very conscious, deliberate system is our system 1. And our system 1 is fast, it is subconscious, it runs all the time. So with our system 2, we think in a very rational and logical way, but it takes a lot of energy. And so when system 2 is tired, or when system 1 is provoked, then we find that people make what we call decision errors, or they're biased when it comes to rational. They become irrational. And the important thing that behavioral economics tries to do is they say, well, people are irrational in very predictable ways because of the way that we have this interaction in our brains. We have very specific biases that come about in very special scenarios. And we can predict these, we can model these, and this can give us a better understanding of the way that consumers and investors actually behave. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about why this has very particular implications for sustainability, and in particular for climate change. Because it turns out that human beings are very good at thinking abstractly about climate change, but when it comes to making a decision in the present day, they're very much governed by their immediate impulses, by instant gratification, by the social environment, and by uncertainty and risk, which we're not very good at thinking about. So there are 5 big sort of bad assumptions that are built into traditional economic theory that affect us. One is that we believe that we're very good at thinking about the long term because that's our system 2 framing. So one of the classic experiments that was done to show that people are inconsistent in this way is they went to a group of office workers in the United States and they said, you know what, we're going to make an experiment for you. In 2 weeks, we're going to come back to the office and we're going to give you a snack. We're going to give you, you can choose, would you like some fruit or would you like some chocolate? And if I asked you now, right now, 2 weeks from now, I give you a snack, would you rather have fruit or chocolate? How many of you would actually rather have a fruit? And how many of you would think actually would like a piece of chocolate? So in this particular experiment, when they asked about it, 70% of people were very healthy. And they said, you know what, please bring us a fruit. Then on the day itself, when the researchers came back, they said, you know, we have brought a lot of fruit and a lot of chocolate, so pick whatever you would like. And on the day itself, when they have to make a decision for right now, what happens is that 70% of people pick the chocolate. And that's what we call preference reversal. And this has been demonstrated many, many times in many different settings. We tell people that they want to go to the gym. Everybody knows that they want to go to the gym. In fact, we pay a phenomenal amount of money to go to the gym. But in the morning when we wake up, we cannot go. We pay a lot of money to people to tell us to be on a diet. It's not that we don't know. It's just that we cannot resist the immediate temptation. And in the world of finance, what this means is that we are all very well aware that we have to save for the long term. But when we are confronted in the immediate future with something for instant gratification, we give in. And when it comes to thinking about something like the climate, even though we know that in the long run, our actions today affect the climate, it's so far away that we can simultaneously be very committed to these long-term changes, but the short-term conveniences or the short-term temptation not to recycle or to throw something in the garbage immediately overcomes us. So very, very small frictions and very, very small temptations overcome our long-term desire to invest in environmentally sustainable things that are inconvenient today. The second assumption that we make when we look at some of these models is that people know the true value of things and that there's some kind of true valuation that's very stable and understood. But in fact, if we just think about many, many of the decisions that we make every day, and I have 2 children, 2 very small children, and I will tell you the first thing you learn when you have children is that people don't know what they really want. And they would change all the time. Right? So the idea that we have a fixed set of preferences, we know A compared to B, B compared to C, and that those preferences will remain the same forever is completely untrue. And what we know about the human being or the human brain is one very important fact is that we hate to lose. And part of that is because we have an evolutionary desire. We are afraid of scarcity. So if we have an equivalent gain of this much and we have an equivalent loss of this much, we actually are very much more fearful of the loss than we are of the gain. What does this mean for us? It means that in one experiment, this is a very classic experiment again, where they said, okay, we'll take a jar. We'll show you this jar. One jar has a lot of cookies. One jar has a few cookies. And then we'll just hide 2 jars and we'll give you a cookie. If you believe that the cookie came from the jar that is very full, that cookie tastes not as good as the cookie that comes from the empty jar. Scarcity enhances value for us. When we believe that something is abundant, naturally our valuation goes down. And so again, when we look at something where we perceive the environment or where we perceive things to be very not at all scarce, it's not salient to us. We don't respond when we feel that something is not under immediate threat. That makes it very difficult as well, because it means that human beings are very inert. When we are not in a crisis, we don't act. Even though, again, we know rationally that all the cookies are the same. When we are presented with what we call time scarcity or quantity scarcity, that is the time when we react, and it changes our valuation. Another very key assumption of the rational economic model is that people do things because of rational cost and benefit. But those of you, and I'm of a certain age, so this is very familiar, there's something called the ice bucket challenge. It's where, in fact, people would throw buckets of water on themselves to support the fundraising for ALS. And this was true not only in countries like Singapore and Malaysia, where throwing water on yourself is very pleasurable, but in very, very cold countries as well. So this was not something that was fun. And when you ask people why they did something like this, many of them did not even know what the cause was. So this was a socially responsible behavior, but fundamentally the motivation was to mimic other people. So what does this mean? Partly, again, coming back to the origins of where we are in the brain, a lot of our decisions are motivated by the fact that the human being is a social animal. We respond to our peer group. We respond to our role models in different ways than when we think about rationally what the rules are or the costs and benefits are. So, you know, like when I was very young, my mother used to say, if all your friends rush off a cliff, will you rush off a cliff? And the answer is yes, of course, certainly I would have, right? But many ways, because we are built from an evolutionary perspective to learn from the behavior of others, when we see people who are in our peer group, it affects us disproportionately. And so again, when we are in an environment that supports socially responsible investments, we have what we call a virtuous cycle. But if you are in a situation where you are not, or you don't see role modeling in this area, even though rationally you may believe, you're not going to follow through. It's also very hard for us to change our ideas and assumptions. And part of what we know about human beings is that we are not robots. So in a traditional economic model, we call something called the efficient market hypothesis. We believe if we teach people about what is good, we teach people about science, we teach people about the environmental science and the climate change science, or we teach people about socially responsible practices, and we give them evidence that they will receive. But actually, what we know from cognitive science is that people actually receive information and they selectively filter out things that they already believe. So when they receive new information and we try to educate people, what happens is that we only succeed really in people retaining information that they are already very inclined to believe. So what does this mean? That we eventually build up a cadre of people who are very social and very interested in the social responsibility space, and we reinforce that group and we reinforce that group, and we live in a little bubble of people. And this happens a lot to entrepreneurs in this space. We live in a little bubble of people, all who are very similar thinking, and we read information that reinforces us, and they move in very polarized ways. And we've seen actually this polarity happening all around the world today between people who believe in science and people who are anti-science, people who are pro-vaccination and anti-vaccination, people who, I don't want to get political at the end of the day, pro-Donald Trump and anti-Donald Trump. It's as if they live in different information universes. And in the past, we've also had this problem where we have people who believe in climate change and people who will not believe in climate change. And the more information we give them, our traditional rules or our traditional instruments of education and training do have no effect. because you can give, but they don't receive. Right? And last but not least, I wanted to tell you that actually one of the things that we know, again, because of our understanding now, a more nuanced understanding of cognitive science, is that people can be very rational, but their attention is limited. And so because our cerebral cortex above is very hungry for energy, what it means is that people have a very limited amount of attention that they can give you. And so even though people may care very deeply, what happens is that they only have a certain amount of bandwidth. So other very pressing issues come in play. And again, in the social responsibility space, this is something that we find ourselves, we fall in love with an issue, or we fall in love with a particular market. And we don't understand that from the consumer perspective or for the investor perspective, there are many other competing things in the way. And in fact, our attention is very diverse, very dispersed. Moreover, what it means is that even though, again, these issues are important, they are pressing, but because they are not immediate, they are not front of mind. And so for all of these reasons, the ESG sector has suffered because it is a sector in which everyone acknowledged that it is very important. It is very critical. It is very important for the future. But the immediate impetus and the short-term inconvenience and the lack of a culture and the lack of everyday salience made it very difficult for this market to grow as it should, despite our best intentions, despite the fact that we all have the understanding that this is an important thing for us to do as a species. So sustainability has been so hard for us for all of these reasons. Number one, the experience of investing in or exploring social responsibility has not been seamless. So little frictions, trying to get certifications, trying to make sure we have put by all the regulatory houses, has made it such that very small frictions or very small bureaucratic regulations can deter people. We know that what happens is that if we want someone to focus on the long-term inspiration, we still have to give them short-term incentives. And we have not worked as hard as we could in this space to give people the short-term incentive that aligns with their long-term aspirations. Another thing that we find in the sustainability space is that when people want to commit, we have to help them do that. We have to help people understand that even though they want to commit to a course of action or they want to commit to a product or a strategy, it's very important to understand that everyday concerns or these frictions are very challenging for them. So we have to have empathy for that and help people set goals. The social context has not always been welcoming. And again, partly because people have not felt the urgency of the situation, the importance of the situation, the gravity of the situation. It has been very hard to get traction. And the last piece of this is that, on the other hand, people have not felt that their individual actions can make a difference very often. People will say, oh, well, if I throw away this one piece of garbage, what will it do for the global issue of recycling? How can it have an impact? That issue is so big. So their notion of control or their ability to change things has been very muted. And so for all of these reasons, these are also psychological levers that have made this sector it's a very challenging sector, both for the consumer and for the investor. Now, what has changed in the COVID period? I think I don't think I need to tell you about all of the negative things about COVID. That's very obvious to all of us right now. And that's also part of the reason we are on Zoom and not with you in person, even though it would be so much nicer to actually be able to interact with you on the ground. But one of the things about the COVID pandemic is that we have actually seen that many of these things have changed overnight. So this is Los Angeles. This is downtown Los Angeles, where the University of Southern California is. And this is a very special picture for us during the COVID pandemic, because for the first time, we can see all the way to the mountains behind the city of Los Angeles. These are the St. Gabriel Mountains. Usually, the city of Los Angeles is covered in smog. Nobody has any idea that these mountains are there. And because of our lockdown, it became suddenly we had sunny days in Los Angeles. I mean, every day we have a sunny day, but it comes through the smog. And so for the first time, people began to understand that it really is our actions that contribute to this environmental pollution, and that even just a cessation of a very small amount of human behavior can affect that change. And so that was one very big shock to the consciousness of many people. This is Los Angeles this week. So for those of you who may not have been following, unfortunately in Los Angeles, again, because of climate change, we have had very unseasonably hot weather. And as a result, we have wildfires that are now going through Los Angeles County and most of the upper state of California. The sky is completely orange. So it looks what we call very apocalyptic. And again, twice now, again, in a very short time, it has brought home to vast numbers of the American population that climate change is real and it has very immediate and threatening effects. So what we're seeing is that COVID is actually a pivotal time psychologically for this market. Saliency is something that we no longer have to worry about. Everybody understands. Secondly, we began to see that in fact, public goods are very important. And in fact, the environment is a scarce resource. We begin to understand that there is something we can do about it. We begin to understand that we have to focus on the long term and that this idea that private action leads to collective good is something that has been reinforced. And last but not least, when we are in a situation of extreme risk, psychologically, there is a desire for security, emphasis on good governance, emphasis on long term. All of these things are coming to the fore. We have also seen that many of the things that we thought are impossible have now happened. So for example, we see more flexibility around work from home and flexible working conditions. And most importantly, we are starting to see that digital technology is a very big part of this transformation. So many of the things that we thought, again, were impossible to achieve, we have had to achieve them. And under these circumstances, the realm of possibility has really altered a lot. What has this meant for the ESG market? This means that the ESG market, firstly, everything that people used to say that the ESG market is growing because of a bull market bubble has been completely dispelled. In this particular period, we have seen the ESG rated stocks outperform regular stocks, and we have seen around the world, actually among surveys of fund managers and surveys of investors, incredible interest in stocks that show that they are in sectors that emphasize sustainability and good governance and transparency. So we are seeing not just a rise in the technology side, but really the fundamental principles. And I think this is really a turning point for us. So one of the things that we can take away from the COVID pandemic, hopefully, apart from the terrible human toll of the pandemic itself, is that psychologically, from an investor perspective, this is the time that ESG is really coming to the fore because we begin to appreciate in this very terrible period the value of this in ways that we were not able to before because our environment and our psychology don't set us up naturally. And there are opportunities. And one of the things that we hope very much is that in the next little while, that those opportunities will outweigh the challenges. All right, thank you very much for listening. I know it was a very long day. Brenda, I turn back to you.
Yeah, I think incredible. You are incredible, I must say that. From this presentation, I could see that, you are a real doctor who has done a evasive surgery of mind and skin of human beings. So you really understand human behavior. And that irrationality when you talked about was so interesting that, when human beings like to be irrational when it comes to doing things, that has been wonderfully put by you. And I think that's what makes us different. And that's what makes us beautiful also, if we would just act all the time like a rational, so we maybe like a machine. So I think that's where that's where you also touched upon, and that's where you also, awaken us more like a psychologist. So I think you are not just a professor for economics, but you are a wonderful psychologist too, in terms of understanding human mind and all that. I think that has been a very, very interesting part for us, that, when it comes to doing things, we become irrational. And that's where I think, that affection among the society, among the people, love among the families and all that comes in. So rightly so. But how would you, one question which comes to me, like, I could understand that, most of us who are contributing to this ESG and this climate action is because that we do not act responsibly as required. But tell me something. What about you? I mean, you seems to be completely out of that thought process. So, what is that you what would state for people in general, to really raise their conscience and consciousness, so that we can also think like you do, and like you have the idea, not like you also know ins and out. I could also see that you are not just an X-ray machine, but you are advanced like magnetic resonance imaging. So you understand human being to that level. So what is that you think that what should the organization like us who are promoting ESG and all that should do to the masses, because it's about the masses, how we bring these consumers, industries, and how we bring them to such a platform where their conscience, and the consciousness to improve upon what you just shown has happened to the Los Angeles, very recently. Yeah.
So I think, well, thank you very much. So I think in this era, right, part of, I think, what is challenging for us as professionals in this space is that we are very deeply into it. So we have our own biases and focus because we are so passionate and we are so convinced of our case that sometimes we forget that people who are not in our field actually do not have the same passion. Maybe they have very valid points of view. So the first thing, obviously, is that consumer education, investor education is the first principle, obviously. But what the behavioral insights tells us is that will never be enough. So just teaching people about the science or teaching people about the value of good governance is not going to be enough to provoke change. And what we have to do is help people to focus on the long-term consequences. We have to be willing to open conversation. And we have to be willing to don't take anything for granted and realize that we don't live I like what you said, which is that our human behavior is both the blessing and the curse. It really makes us beautiful and it also makes us very risky. So as professionals in this space, our passion and our focus, it makes us very strong, but it also makes sometimes our outreach, our education, our efficacy in actually being able to promote this to the masses, it's also our weakness. So we have to be able to understand these biases in others and say, look, it's not that people are stupid. It's not that people are evil. It's not that people don't care. It's that very often they have other competing things on their mind. The future is too far away. They don't see the immediate value. They don't see and it's not our place to judge them for it, but to actually be able to speak to them in this way that really gets at these underlying biases. We know that we cannot present only the cold economic arguments, and we cannot ourselves be blinded by the fact that we are so convinced all the time.
Johnny, so you have two questions. Virendra, you have finished or you have more queries?
No, you please go first because.
Yes, because participants are asking something. Okay, so Mr. Jadid asked a question to Johnny. Johnny, can you stop the screen share so that Mr. Jadid can see you also? Participants can see you. Okay. So the question is that we have seen that the traffic is so less in New York City during pandemic. It has helped to reduce carbon emission, CO2, but again, it has retarded again. It has allowed again during new normal. Can you please explain the sustainable solution? He has another question also. Okay, first you take it first, then I will ask you the second question.
I think someone else also said the same thing, which is that we have one COVID pandemic, but will we ever really learn? Can we actually really learn? And that's actually a very big question for behavioral insights, which is that actually people find it very hard to learn. So a very big shock is an opportunity to change behavior, but then you have to put something in place to cement that behavior. If not, people just come back to their old choice because the human nature will always go back to the most convenient thing. So what we need to do is that when people are still in the frame of mind where they are plastic and changeable, is to take the moment to move investments forward or to move regulations forward. Take this time to get that political will to change the system so that these things stay permanent. Because if we don't do that, people will just go back to normal. It's as if you had a very big diet and you lose a lot of weight. And this is what happens in the health sector. Yeah, we have a very big diet. We lose a lot of weight. Everyone says how beautiful we are. And then after our diet is over, because we don't make any changes to our lifestyle to constrain ourselves, fundamentally, it comes back. And sometimes it becomes worse. So the key with the COVID pandemic is that absolutely correct. We have a very big shock. We open the opportunity to commit to things that would structurally change our environment. And if we miss this opportunity, we will go straight back to where we were before.
Yes.
Yeah, so the similar question that someone asked, anonymous attendees, okay, his name is not visible here. However, you already answered this, but as he asked the question, so I am just mentioning the question. Mankind needs the COVID pandemic to remind us of all our misdeeds, but will we ever learn? Okay, so another question is, Mr. Jadi, do you think that private corporate bodies have the not only social but ethical responsibilities for investment for sustainable environment? Okay.
Yeah, so the traditional economic wisdom is that the corporation is responsible to the shareholders, and the corporation should therefore have at its heart only the interests of the shareholders, which in many situations we have thought of means only the monetary profit. So my strong belief is that if we take a wider interpretation of shareholder interests, that also means that private corporations do have an ethical commitment to the shareholders to pursue what we think of as more sustainable work. And at the end of the day, I think that today what we're seeing is that as the market rises for ESG stocks, then hopefully the division between what is actually sustainable and what is actually profitable will not be so far apart.
Okay. So Virendra, you want to add anything in a very short way, because we have to close before that. You know that we had another speaker who stays in the USA due to time difference. She could not join in this meeting, but we recorded her presentation. So Virendra, can you share her presentation?
Just a small,
Thank
yeah.
you very much, Johnny.
Can I?
Yes. Sure.
Yes.
Okay. This is on the economics. I am seeing a trend recently that, on our stock exchanges, there is a new concept being talked that, debt-free company. I recently heard that we have one organization called Reliance Industries. This happens to be one of the largest industry in Asia Pacific, I think. Already around $200 billion is the turnover of that company. So they have declared them as a debt-free company. And of late, Tata Motors has said that they will make Tata Motors as a debt-free company. Now, this has become a kind of a thematic, subject for stockbrokers and experts to discuss. And thereby, there's a lot of hobby lobby around those stocks in our stock exchange and over other stock exchanges. Do you also foresee something similar happening to the ESG? Because ESG is being discussed, and ESG investors, ESG investment. Do you see that kind of advantage also companies receiving in case they really direct themselves and, controls and comply to that extent in the time to come?
So firstly, on the debt-free company, think that in this low interest rate environment, I wouldn't recommend debt-free as a universal strategy for all companies. For some companies, debt is a good thing to have, and for certain life cycle of certain companies, it's not a sin to have debt. Now, if you can borrow cheaply and grow fast, access to credit is something that we have worked for many, many, many years in low-income markets. So if you are a very large company and you can afford to be debt-free, good for you. But this is not something that we should sort of set up as a false expectation for small SMEs and others as well. And at some point in time in the future, I promise you, they will have a day when they will not be debt-free anymore, and then the negative expectation there will become very bad for them. But I think that ESG is slightly different, because I think ESG, what we're doing is we're trying to commit to principles of good governance, and I think that those will never go out of style. I hope. So I think that the ESG, is it a fad? Is it a trend? Will people actually, after all this is over, say, well, ESG was also a bubble and it went away? I think to the extent that we're insisting on very basic things like good governance, I think that part of it is going to remain strong. I think the environmental piece of it, we may see interest falling off as people sort of lose interest possibly. But I think with the unescapable trend of climate change, unfortunately, I don't think that this issue is going to become less important as time goes by. And the lack of the need for good governance in a corrupt world, I also think will not become less salient, unfortunately, as time goes by. But I know that we are very late now. So I thank you all so much for being with me until the end of this day. And I turn it back to you, Virendra.
Thank you, Zoni. This was very, very enlightening to us and to all our listeners everywhere. And we hope to, hear a lot in the time to come from you, time to time. I can only extend gratitude and thank you so much for being with us.
No, not at all. I very much enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And now I will give you back to your main program.
Thank you so much. Back to you, Sumaya.
Yes, thank you, Johnny. Thank you very much. Already what I will speak, Virendra already told you. On behalf of South Asia, we are really privileged to have you today's program. And now, Virendra, Angelica video you can share it.
I have shared with you on the WhatsApp, so you can just run that.
Can you check first?
I think I have shared.
Okay, so let me just introduce with Angelica, because she could not join today due to time difference, and that is the reason we just recorded her presentation, and we are delighted to share her presentation to you. She actually will has talked about the same aspects, and Angelica is an agroeconomist with an energy engineering degree in socioeconomic development and environment from the Zamorano University in Honduras. Her areas of expertise include sustainable agriculture and value chain analysis of the food sector, as well as the contextual influence, that is governments, policies, programs, corporations on these sectors. And closely, she works with groups of rural producers and consumers, support and train the MSMEs in the management and promotion of exports and improvement of production and quality processes. And also she work on impact studies, programs, project evaluations, baselines with the use of participatory methodologies and statistical analysis, development and execution of service management of database and variables. Yes, so Virendra, I am requesting you to share the presentation which Angelica shared with us. Virendra, are you here? Virendra, can you? Okay, I think there is a technical problem of this presentation. So I think that we will upload the presentation. We will upload this presentation in our website and also to the YouTube channel. And I will share. SRAsia will share with all the attendees the Angelica MD's presentation. So that you can understand what about the data management, database management, and large data, how to management in agriculture sector. So this is all about our event today, and I am really happy that the attendees are very much active. Mr. Jadid, I can mention Mr. Jadid, Vasanti, and also some other attendees. I cannot memorize the name, but yes, it is very pleasure to be with you all. And thank you for this interactive session. So today was the first day of SRAsia International Dialogue 2020 on ESG performance and reporting. So these recurring programs will be in 16 September and also 17 September. So tomorrow on 16 September, our webinar is on creating business values through ESG reporting. And I also want to share you one good news that we are going to launch our online platform that is called GREAT, and also the global certification program on for certified assurers and also professional report writers, sustainability report writers tomorrow. And we are welcoming you for tomorrow's event, and thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Just to add, just to add that tomorrow we will be having people from some of the world's largest organizations who are working with the big corporates, companies like Global Reporting Initiative Amsterdam. They will be sharing on what is the new ways on reporting. We also have a company called Integrated Reporting Framework UK. So they would also let you know that how other frameworks are different than theirs. I must tell you that the integrated reporting frameworks globally are also catching up. We will also have Managing Director Mardy McBirian from Climate Disclosure Standard Board UK. And not the least, but we will also have person from Reserve Bank of India who will be sharing that how organization like them who are responsible also to take great measures during such and such time are being proactive. So lots of fine minds, lots of good minds tomorrow. So a lot of learning. So I also would like to invite you all again tomorrow. I think our program starts 1 o'clock. That's Bangladesh time, and it should be 1:30 for Indians. It should be 2:30 for Singaporean. So I think you all can make out. I mean, you can all easily understand the schedule. I would therefore invite you all. You come, please join, participate, raise your questions. And for today, thank you so much. And you are welcome to join back tomorrow. Back to you, Sumaya.